everybody doing? 今夜も月が綺麗ですね。こんばんは。聞こえますか？New badge! Let's go! Thank you for being Erotito Mesh for 6 months, Crispy. New badge. Now that we have a mascot character, I should get some updated badges for you guys soon. Sound is just fine. Okay. This is a cozy late night reading ASMR stream, so hopefully you guys are in a position right now where you can relax while listening. It's probably better to listen through headphones or earphones, but hopefully you can hear me just fine if you turn your volume up a little bit. Contators! Today we are going to be reading The Courage to be Disliked again. 今日も嫌われる勇気読んでいきますよ。前の配信ではね、The first night we read a whole chapter last stream, and today I'm gonna be reading the second chapter, second night. This book actually doesn't really follow like a grand story. It's more like every single chapter the youth learns something new from the philosopher. So even if you weren't here in the last stream or you missed most of the content because you fell asleep, it's okay. 大丈夫 because it's a new kind of you get to learn a new lesson every chapter, so it's okay. You can follow along just fine. Can you guys hear the beautiful sound of the pages flipping? Peak content. もうね、本のページがめくられているこの音めちゃくちゃこれめっちゃ好き。Contato, does my new badge look good on me? It looks amazing on you, Muffins. Looks great on Crispy as well. Thank you guys for the 6-month membership. Okay, so okay. Oh, by the way, before I start reading, I just want to update everyone before you guys maybe fall asleep halfway. I got my ingredients ready to make some chocolate. So, I will be doing another hand cam cooking kind of stream on Valentine's Day. I'll be making chocolate. チョコレート作りの材料ちゃんと変えたので、バレンタインの夜はまたカメラつけてお料理配信みたいな感じでチョコレートデコレーション配信みたいな特別なバレンタインスペシャルやります。はい。Let's go more cooking. Yeah. So yeah, I will be doing another hand cam on Valentine's Day. So, if you're free on Valentine's Day, I got you. More hand content. Let's go. I'm looking forward to doing the hand review stream as well. I have it pinned at the top of the chat today for anyone who hasn't submitted and would like to join us. We are doing a viewer hand review stream. So if you want to send in a picture of your hand for me to review, I have the link to the Google Docs at the top. 今から寝るところなので聞きながら寝たいと思います。おやすみなさい。ゆきれやさんおやすみなさい。いい夢を。はい、じゃあそろそろ始めましょうかね。始める前にお水飲みましょう。Let me drink some water before I start reading. おや。Hand review. Yeah. I'm gonna be doing a hand review stream. Good night, everyone. Oh, are you going to sleep as well, Crispy? Good night. Good night. Okay. So, the second night, the second chapter is called All Problems Are Interpersonal Relationships. Ah, yes. I love doing an ASMR stream, but I'm just reading a bunch of really complicated philosophical concepts. It kind of feels more like a philosophy class, but it's okay. I like this kind of psychology, philosophy content, you know. We enjoy deep thinking in this household, in this community. I like thinking about deep concepts. The young man was good to his word. Exactly 1 week later, he returned to the philosopher's study. Truth be told, he'd felt the urge to rush back. He'd felt the urge to rush back there only 2 or 3 days after his first visit. He had turned things over in his mind very carefully, and his doubts had turned to certainty. In short, teleology, the attributing of the purpose of a given phenomenon rather than its cause, was a sophistry, and the existence of trauma was beyond question. People cannot simply forget the past, and neither can they become free from it. Today, the young man decided he'd thoroughly dismantle this eccentric philosopher's theories and settle matters once and for all. Complicated topic should make me sleepy? Let's go. Pretend like this is your university philosophy class, except instead of having an old man as your professor, you have me. Alright. So, the first part of this chapter is called Why You Dislike Yourself. Interesting. Sir, after last time, I calmed myself down, focused, and thought things over. And yet, I've got to say, I still can't agree with your theories. Oh, what do you find questionable about them? Well, for instance, the other day I admitted that I dislike myself. No matter what I do, I can't find anything but shortcomings, and I can see no reason why I'd start liking myself. But of course, I still want to. You explain everything as having to do with goals, but what kind of goal should I have here? I mean, what kind of advantage could there be in my not liking myself? I can't imagine there'd be a single thing to gain from it. I see. You feel that you don't have any strong points, that you've got nothing but shortcomings. Whatever the facts may be, that's how you feel. In other words, your self-esteem is extremely low. So, the question here then are, why do you feel so wretched? And why do you view yourself with such low esteem? Because that's a fact. I really don't have any strong points. You're wrong. You notice only your shortcomings because you've resolved to not start liking yourself. In order to not like yourself, you don't see your strong points and focus only on your shortcomings. First, understand this point. Interesting. I have resolved to not start liking myself? That's right. To you, not liking yourself is a virtue. Why? What for? Perhaps this is something you should think about yourself. What sort of shortcomings do you think you have? I'm sure you have already noticed. First of all, there's my personality. I don't have any self-confidence, and I'm always pessimistic about everything. And I guess I'm too self-conscious because I worry about what others see, and then I live with a constant distrust of other people. I can never act naturally. There's always something theatrical about what I say and do, and it's not just my personality. There's nothing to like about my face or my body either. Damn. This youth feels really bad about themselves. Oh, Nana-chan. Nana-chan, いらっしゃい. My ears are ascending, 助かる. Thank you for dropping by, Nana-chan. いらっしゃい. Oh my god, I think I need another drink of water. Why? When you go about listing your shortcomings like that, what kind of mood does it put you in? Well, that's nasty. An unpleasant mood, naturally. I'm sure no one will want to get involved with a guy as wrapped as me. If there were anyone this wretched and bothersome in my vicinity, I'd keep my distance too. I see. Well, that settles it then. What do you mean? It might be hard to understand from your own example, so I'll use another. I used this study for simple counseling sessions. It must have been quite a few years ago, but there was a female student who came by. She sat right where you are sitting now, in the same chair. Well, her concern was her fear of blushing. She told me that she was always turning red whenever she was out in public, and that she would do anything to rid herself of this. So, I asked her, well, if you can cure it, what will you want to do then? And she said that there was a man she wanted. She secretly had feelings for him, but wasn't ready to divulge them. Once her fear of blushing was cured, she'd confess her desire to be with him. Huh. Alright. It sounds like the typical thing a female student would seek counseling for. In order for her to confess her feelings for him, first, she had to cure her blushing problem. But is that really the whole case? I have a different opinion. Why did she get this fear of blushing? And why hadn't it gotten better? Because she needed that symptom of blushing. What are you saying exactly? She was asking you to cure it, wasn't she? What do you think was the scariest thing to her? The thing that she wanted to avoid most of all. It was that the man would reject her, of course. The fact that her unrequited love would negate everything for her. The very existence and possibility of I. This aspect is deeply present in adolescent unrequited love. But as long as she had a fear of blushing, she can go on thinking, I can't be with him because I have this fear of blushing. It could end without her ever working up the courage to confess her feelings to him. And she could convince herself that he would reject her anyway. And finally, she could live in the possibility that if only my fear of blushing had gotten better, I could have. Okay, so she fabricated that fear of blushing as an excuse for her own inability to confess her feelings. Or maybe as a kind of insurance for when he rejected her. Yes, you could put it that way. Okay, that is an interesting interpretation. But if that were really the case, wouldn't it be impossible to do anything to help her? Since since she simultaneously needs that fear of blushing and is suffering because of it, there'd be no end to her troubles. Well, this is what I told her. Fear of blushing is easy to cure. She asked, "Really?" I went on, "But I will not cure it." She pressed me. "Why?" I explained. "Look, it's thanks to your fear of blushing that you can accept your dissatisfaction with yourself and the world around you, and with a life that isn't going well. It's thanks to your fear of blushing, and it's caused by it." She asked, "How could it be?" I went on, "If I did cure it, and nothing in your situation changed at all, what would you do? You'd probably come here again and say, give me back my fear of blushing, and that would be beyond my abilities." Her story certainly isn't unusual. Students preparing for their exams think, if I pass, life will be rosy. Company workers think, if I get transferred, everything will go well. But even when those wishes are fulfilled, in many cases, nothing about their situations changes at all. Indeed. When a client shows up requesting a cure from fear of blushing, the counselor must not cure the symptoms. If they do, recovery is likely to be even more difficult. That is the Alderian psychology way of thinking about this kind of thing. So, what specifically do you do then? Do you ask what they're worried about and then just leave it be? She didn't have confidence in herself. She was very afraid that things being what they were, he'd reject her even if she did confess to him. And if that happened, she'd lose even more confidence and get hurt. That's why she created the symptom of the fear of blushing. What I can do is get the person first to accept myself now, and then, regardless of the outcome, have the courage to step forward. In Alderian psychology, this kind of approach is called encouragement. Encouragement? Yes. I'll explain it systematically, what it consists of once our discussion has progressed a little further. We're not at that stage yet. That works for me. In the meantime, I'll keep the word encouragement in mind. Sir, what happened to her? Apparently, she had the chance to join a group of friends and spend time with the man, and in the end, it was he who confessed his desire to be with her. Of course, she never dropped by the study again after that. I don't know what became of her fear of blushing, but she probably didn't need it any longer. Yes, she certainly didn't have any use for it anymore. That's right. Now, keeping the student's story in mind, let's think about your problems. You say that, in the present, you notice only your shortcomings, and it's unlikely that you'll ever come to like yourself. Then, you said, I'm sure that no one would want to get involved with a guy like me, didn't you? I'm sure you understand this already. Why do you dislike yourself? Why do you focus only on your shortcomings? And why have you decided to not start liking yourself? It's because you are overly afraid of being disliked by other people and getting hurt in your interpersonal relationships. What do you mean by that? Just like the young woman with the fear of blushing, who was afraid of being rejected by the man, you are afraid of being negated by other people. You're afraid of being treated disparate. Disparate. 読めない単語。待って。Disparate. disparagingly? What does that mean? I don't know. Hello, Emu, welcome. I apologize once again if I get to a word and I don't know how to pronounce it. This MC is me, for real, for real. This MC is really relatable. This book hits a bit too hard. You're afraid of being treated disparagingly, being refused, and sustaining deep mental wounds. You think that instead of getting entangled in such situations, it would be better if you just didn't have relations with anyone in the first place. In other words, your goal is to not get hurt in your relationships with other people. Damn, just like me for real. Good evening. 今日はもう寝ないといけないので ASMR にして寝ます。あ、チョコラテさん、お疲れ様です。おやすみなさい。いい夢を。This just makes the entire reading more natural. I hope you guys don't mind me occasionally stuffing up on a word or two. There's quite a few complicated concepts in this book that I struggle to read with. Just like me, Paige. I know, right? So relatable. Disparagingly, in a critical or unkind way that shows you do not respect someone or something. Guys, we learn something new every day. I didn't know that word before. Disparagingly. Thank you, Google-san. Google 先生ありがとう。Huh? Now, how can that goal be realized? The answer is easy. Just find your shortcomings, start disliking yourself, and become someone who doesn't enter into interpersonal relationships. That way, you can just shut yourself into your own shell, and you won't have to interact with anyone. And you'll even have a justification ready whenever other people snub you. That it's because of your shortcomings that you get snubbed. And if things weren't this way, you too could be loved. Well, you've really put me in my place now. Don't be evasive. Being the way I am with all these shortcomings is, for you, a previous virtue. In other words, something that's to your benefit. Ouch, that hurts. What a sadist. You're diabolical. Okay, yes, it's true. I am afraid. I don't want to get hurt in an interpersonal relationship. I'm terrified of being snubbed for who I am. It's hard to admit it, but you're right. Admitting is a good attitude, but don't forget, it's basically impossible to not get hurt in your relations with other people. When you enter into interpersonal relationships, it is inevitable that to a greater or lesser extent, you will get hurt, and you will hurt someone too. Adler says, to rid of one's problems, all one can do is live in the universe all alone. But one can't do such a thing. And that was the end of the first part. Damn, that hit so hard. This protagonist is just like me, for real. This is too relatable. Hello, Serena. And the next part of the book is called All Problems Are Interpersonal Relationship Problems, which is the same as the main title. Alright, let me get a drink of water and we will keep going. Yes. Wait a minute. I'm supposed to just let that one slip by? To get rid of one's problems, all one can do is live in the universe all alone? What do you mean by that? If you lived alone, wouldn't you be horribly lonely? Oh, but being alone isn't what makes you feel lonely. Loneliness is having other people and society and community around you and having a deep sense of being excluded from them. To feel lonely, we need other people. That is to say, it is only in social contexts that a person becomes an individual. If you were really alone, that is, if you existed completely alone in the universe, you wouldn't be an individual and you wouldn't feel lonely either. I suppose the very concept of loneliness wouldn't even exist. You wouldn't need language, and there'd be no use for logic or common sense either. But such a thing is impossible. Even if you lived on an uninhabited island, you would still think about someone far across the ocean. You spend your nights alone. You strain your ears to hear the sound of someone's breath. As long as there is someone out there somewhere, you will be haunted by loneliness. But then, you could just rephrase that as, if one could live in a universe all alone, one's problems would go away, wouldn't you? In theory, yes. As Adler goes as far as to assert, all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. Can you say that again? We can repeat it as many times as you'd like. All problems are interpersonal relationship problems. This is a concept that runs to the very root of Adlerian psychology. If all interpersonal relationships were gone from this world, which is to say, if one were alone in the universe and all other people were gone, all matter of problems would disappear. That's a lie. It's nothing more than academic sophistry. Of course, we can not do without interpersonal relationships. A human being's existence, in its very essence, assumes the existence of other human beings. Living completely separate from others is, in principle, impossible. As you are indicating, the premise, if one could live all alone in the universe, is unsound. That's not the issue I'm talking about. Sure, interpersonal relationships are probably a big problem. That much I can acknowledge. But to say that everything comes down to interpersonal relationship problems, now that's a really extreme position. What about the worry of being cut off from interpersonal relationships? The kind of problem that an individual agonizes over as an individual, problems directed to oneself. Do you deny all of that? There is no such thing as a worry that is completely defined by the individual. So-called internal worry does not exist. Whatever the worry that may arise, the shadows of other people are always present. But still, you're a philosopher. Human beings have loftier, greater problems than things like interpersonal relationships. What is happiness? What is freedom? And what is the meaning of life? Aren't these the themes that great philosophers have been investigating ever since the ancient Greeks? And you're saying, so what? Interpersonal relationships are everything? It seems kind of pedestrian to me. It's hard to believe that a philosopher would say such things. Well then, it seems there's a need to explain things a bit more concretely. Yes, please do. If you're going to tell me that you're a philosopher, then you've got to explain things, or else this makes no sense. You are so afraid of interpersonal relationships that you came to dislike yourself. You've avoided interpersonal relationships by disliking yourself. These assertions shook the youth to his very core. The words had an undeniable truth that seemed to pierce his heart. Even so, he had to find a clear rebuttal to the statement that all the problems that people experience are interpersonal relationship problems. Adler was trivializing people's issues. The problems I'm suffering from aren't so mundane. We're in stage 1 denial right now. 深い話だね。深い話ですね。ちょっとすごくこの主人公になんていうのかな、it's very relatable. I can relate to the youth a lot. The next part of the book is called Feelings of Inferiority as Subjective Assumptions. Damn, that's very interesting. I think the majority of this book is it's kind of like a call out. It's like calling you out for your insecurities. Like every time you feel insecure about yourself, like you feel inferior to others, or you dislike yourself, or you feel like nobody likes you, a lot of it actually is more rooted from how you view yourself rather than how other people view you. I think this is like basically a book that calls you out for that. We are holding hands in the self-hate club right now. We also gotta hold hands in the self-love club. I think this book they're trying to teach you not to love yourself, but to understand that the reason why you have negative feelings towards yourself is because of a lot of assumptions that you have for yourself, and that a lot of it is like problems that you build for yourself. It's not other people that are making you insecure. It's you, yourself, that is making you insecure. So I think it's very eye-opening once you realize that you're the one who's making yourself insecure and it's actually not dependent on other people. Then you can start thinking about how you can build more confidence. Let me drink some more water. Well, let's look at interpersonal relationships from a slightly different perspective. Are you familiar with the term feeling of inferiority? What a silly question. As you can surely tell from our discussion up to now, I'm just a huge blob of feelings of inferiority. What are those feelings specifically? Well, for instance, if I see something in a newspaper about a person around my age, someone who's really successful, I'm always overcome with these feelings of inferiority. If someone else who's lived the same amount of time I have is so successful, then what on earth am I doing with myself? Or when I see a friend who seems happy, before I even feel like celebrating with them, I'm filled with envy and frustration. Of course, this pimple-covered face doesn't help matters, and I've got strong feelings of inferiority when it comes to my education and occupation. And then there's my income and social standing. I guess I'm just completely riddled with feelings of inferiority. Oh my god, he's just like me for real. I see. Incidentally, Adler is thought to be the first to use the term feeling of inferiority in the kind of context in which it's spoken of today. Huh? Damn, I didn't know that. In Adler's native German, the word I'm sorry guys. They literally wrote this German word in the book, and there's no way I can read this. It says Minderwertigkeitsgefühl. Why does this book sometimes have Spanish and German and like Spanish, German, French words added in? Oh my god. Yes, which means Gefühl of having less Minderwertigkeit. I can't read. マジでわかるよね. It's so relatable. Shame can help better with that German. Write it? It's actually so complicated. Oh my god. Hello Nico, welcome. I was gonna listen to music while sleeping and I saw your stream so I came. Perfect timing. You have a soft BGM in the background and I'm just gonna be reading a book, so if you wanna go to sleep while listening, feel free. Oh. The greatest stories never told. Thank you for the super chat. This book invades your personal space. It's so true. Sometimes I feel like the youth is literally me. Like, this is like a self-insert book. It hits too close to home. Sometimes I feel like I'm being called out by the philosopher. Edu pulling official right now. Let me write out the word so you guys can have some keyboard ASMR too. It's very long. Minda well ti kuke itu suje fuihul. Here's the word. The U has 2 dots on top of it, but here's the word. Can you guys, non-German speakers in chat, can you understand how I felt when I saw this word? I was like, how do I read this? Yeah. Yeah. It means feeling. It's literally written in the book itself. Oh, it's 3 words. In the book it's all combined together. But yeah. Because Adler, who is the philosopher that a lot of the concepts in this book are based on, is German, so Alright, let me keep reading. So, feeling of inferiority is a term that has to do with one's value judgment of oneself. Value judgment? It's the feeling that one has no worth, or that one is only worth so much. That's a feeling I know well. That's me in a nutshell. Not a day goes by without me tormenting myself, that there's no point in being alive. Well then, let's have a look at my own feelings of inferiority. When you first met me, what was your impression in terms of physical characteristics? Well, there's no need to hold back. Be direct. Alright, I guess you were smaller than I'd imagined. Thank you. I am 155 centimeters tall. Adler was apparently around the same height. There was a time, until I was right around your age actually, when I was concerned about my height. I was sure that things would be different if I were of average height, 20 or even just 10 centimeters taller. As if a more enjoyable life were waiting for me. I talked to a friend about it when I was having those feelings, and he said it was a bunch of nonsense and simply dismissed it. That's horrible, some friend. And then he said, What would you do if you got taller? You know, you've got a gift for getting people to relax. With a man who's big and strong, it's true, it does seem he can end up intimidating people because of his size. With someone small like me, on the other hand, people can let go of their wariness. So, it made me realize that having a small build was a desirable thing both to me and to those around me. In other words, there was a transformation of values. I'm not worried about my height anymore. Okay, but that's... Wait until I'm finished. The important thing here is that my height of 155 centimeters wasn't inferior. It wasn't inferior? It was not. In fact, lacking in or lesser than something. Sure, my 155 centimeters is less than the average height, and an objectively measured number. At first glance, one might think it is inferior. But the issue is what sort of meaning I attribute to the height, what sort of value I give it. What does that mean? My feelings about my height were all subjective feelings of inferiority, which arose entirely through my comparing of myself to others. That is to say, it is in my interpersonal relationships. Getting sleepy now, gotta go. It's okay. Feel free to have the stream in the background while you try to sleep. That is the whole purpose of my ASMR. It's so you can relax and maybe go to sleep while listening if you want to. Because if there hadn't been anyone whom to compare myself to, I wouldn't have had any occasion to think I was short. Right now, you too are suffering from various feelings of inferiority. But please understand that what you are feeling is not an objective inferiority, but a subjective feeling of inferiority. Even with an issue like height, it's all reduced to its subjectivity. In other words, the feelings of inferiority we're suffering from are just subjective interpretations rather than objective facts? Exactly. Seeing it from my friend's point of view, that I get people to relax or that I don't intimidate them, such aspects can become strong points. Of course, this is a subjective interpretation. You could even say it's an arbitrary assumption. However, there's one good thing about subjectivity. It allows you to make your own choice. Precisely because I am leaving it to subjectivity, the choice to view my height as either an advantage or disadvantage is left open to me. The argument that you can choose a new lifestyle? That's right. We cannot alter objective facts, but subjective interpretations can be altered as much as one likes. And we are inhabitants of such a subjective world. We talked about this at the very beginning, right? Yes, the well water that's 18 degrees. Now, remember the German word for a feeling of inferiority. As I mentioned a moment ago, feeling of inferiority is a term that has to do with one's value judgment of oneself. Then, what on earth could this value be? Okay, take diamonds, for instance, which are traded at a high value, or currency. We find particular values for these things and say that 1 carat is this much, that pieces are such and such. But if you change your point of view, a diamond is nothing but a little stone. Well, intellectually, it is. In other words, value is something that is based on a social context. The value given to a $1 bill is not an objectively attributed value, though that may be a common sense approach. If one considers its actual cost as printed material, the value is nowhere near $1. If I were the only person in this world and no one else existed, I'd probably be putting those $1 bills in my fireplace in wintertime. Maybe I'd be using them to blow my nose. Following exactly the same logic, there should have been no reason at all for me to worry about my height. So, if you were the only person in this world and no one else existed, yes, the problem of value in the end brings us back to interpersonal relationships again. So, this connects to what you were saying about all problems being interpersonal relationship problems? Yes, that's correct. 細々さんいらっしゃい。And that was the end of the third part. The next part is called An inferiority complex is an excuse. Damn, every single part just feels like a call out. It keeps telling you that a lot of the problems you think are problems caused by other people are actually just all about the way you internalize things. Let me get another drink of water. Yoisho. Let me reposition myself in my chair. Yoisho. お水飲みます。俺にもぐさぐさと刺さってます。刺さりますよね、結構。なんか自分をなんていうのかな、見直す？自分を見直した方がいいんだなって思わせる本ですね、本当に。皆さんにおすすめです。私が配信で全部読む予定なんですけど。This is a really good book. I haven't read such a good book in a long time. I mean, to be fair, I don't read, but this is actually a very valuable book, I think. It really opens your mind to a lot of concepts. Alright, let's keep going. But can you say for sure that feelings of inferiority are really a problem of interpersonal relationships? Even the kind of person who is regarded socially as a success, who doesn't need to debase himself in relationships with other people, still has some feelings of inferiority. Even the businessman who amasses enormous wealth, the peerless beauty who is the envy of all, and the Olympic gold medalist, every one of them would be plagued by feelings of inferiority. Well, that's how it seems to me. How should I think about this? Adler recognizes that feelings of inferiority are something everyone has. There's nothing bad about feelings of inferiority. So, why do people have them in the first place? It's probably necessary to understand this in a certain order. First of all, people enter this world as helpless beings, and people have the universal desire to escape from that helpless state. Adler called this the pursuit of superiority. Pursuit of superiority? This is something you could think of as simply hoping to improve or pursuing an ideal state. For instance, a toddler learns to steady himself on both legs, learn languages, and to improve. And all the advancements of science throughout human history are due to this pursuit of superiority, too. Okay, and then? The counterpart of this is the feeling of inferiority. Everyone is in this condition of wanting to improve. That is the pursuit of superiority. One holds up various ideals or goals and heads towards them. However, on not being able to reach one's ideals, one harbors a sense of being lesser. For instance, there are chefs who, the more inspired and the more inspired and accomplished they become, are forever beset with the sort of feeling of inferiority that makes them say to themselves, I'm still not good enough. I've got to bring my cooking to the next level, and that sort of thing. That's true. Adler is saying that the pursuit of superiority and the feeling of inferiority are not diseases, but stimulants on normal, healthy striving and growth. If it is not used in a wrong way, the feeling of inferiority too can promote striving and growth. The feeling of inferiority is a kind of launch pad? That's right. One tries to get rid of one's feelings of inferiority and keep moving forward. One's never satisfied with one's present situation, even if it's just one single step. One wants to make progress. One wants to be happier. There's absolutely nothing wrong with the state of this kind of feeling. There are, however, people who lose the courage to take a step forward, and who cannot accept the fact that the situation can be changed. By making realistic efforts, people who, before even doing anything, simply give up and say things like, I'm not good enough anyway, or even if I tried, I wouldn't stand a chance. Well, that's true. There's no doubt about it. If the feeling of inferiority is strong, most people will become negative and say, I'm not good enough anyway, because that's what a feeling of inferiority is. No, that's not a feeling of inferiority. That's an inferiority complex. A complex? That's what the feeling of inferiority is, isn't it? Be careful. The way the word complex is used today in our country, it seems to have the same meaning as feelings of inferiority. You hear people saying, I've got a complex about my eyelids, or he's got a complex about his education, that sort of thing. This is an utter misuse of the term. At base, complex refers to an abnormal mental state made up of complicated group of emotions and ideas, and has nothing to do with the feeling of inferiority. For instance, there's Freud's... Oh my god, I forgot to say this word. Oedipus? Oedipus. Help. Oedipus complex, which is used in the context of discussing the abnormal attraction of the child to the opposite sex parent. I know this term, but I don't know how to read it. Hello, calling me out as a chef, for real? It's not me. It's not me, Bernie. It's the book. So let me adjust my chair for a bit. My shoulders hurt a little bit. I think I need to adjust my chair. よいしょ。ちょっと待ってて。椅子がね、椅子のポジションがちょっと悪いかも。ちょっと椅子のポジションを変えないと。よいしょ。よいしょ。Oedipus. Is that how you pronounce it? Oedipus? Oh, so it's not an O sound. Interesting. Oedipus. Oedipus. Oedipus was a mythical Greek king of Thebes? A tragic hero in Greek mythology. That's how my professor said it in uni. Oh, okay. Oedipus. Okay, I got it. I see. I guess I was presenting it wrong then. Oedipus complex. Okay. Yes, the nuances of abnormality are especially strong when it comes to the mother complex and the father complex. For the same reason, then, it's crucial not to mix up feelings of inferiority and inferiority complex, and to think about them as clearly separate. Concretely, how are they different? There is nothing particularly wrong with the feeling of inferiority itself. You understand this point now, right? As Adler says, the feeling of inferiority can be a trigger for striving and growth. For instance, if one had a feeling of inferiority with regard to one's education and resolved to oneself, I'm not well educated, so I'll just have to try harder than anyone else. That would be a desirable direction. The inferiority complex, on the other hand, refers to a condition of having begun to use one's feeling of inferiority as a kind of excuse. So, one thinks to oneself, I'm not well educated, so I can't succeed. Or, I'm not good looking, so I can't get married. When someone is insisting on the logic of A is the situation, so B cannot be done, in such a way in everyday life, that is not something that fits the feeling of inferiority. It is an inferiority complex. Oh, interesting. Shout out to Google Sensei. Thank you, Google Sensei. No, it's a legitimate causal relationship. If you're not well educated, it takes away from your chances of getting work or making it in the world. You're regarded low on the social scale and you can't succeed. That's not an excuse at all. It's just cold, hard fact, isn't it? No, you are wrong. How? Where am I wrong? What you are calling a causal relationship is something that Adler explains as apparent cause and effect. That is to say, you convince yourself that there is some serious causal relationship where there is none whatsoever. The other day, someone told me the reason I can't get married easily is that my parents got divorced when I was a child. From the viewpoint of Freudian etiology, the attributing of causes, the parents' divorce was a great trauma which connects in a clear causal relationship with one's views on marriage. Adler, however, with his stance on teleology, the attributing of purpose, rejects such arguments as apparent cause and effect. But even so, the reality is that having a good education makes it easier to be successful in society. I had thought you were wise to the ways of the world. The real issue is how one confronts that reality. If what you are thinking is, I'm not well educated, so I can't succeed, then instead of I can't succeed, you should think, I don't want to succeed. I don't want to succeed? What kind of reasoning is that? It's simply that it's scary to even take one step forward. Also, that you don't want to make realistic efforts. You don't want to change so much that you'd be willing to sacrifice the pleasures you enjoy now. For instance, the time you spend playing and engage in hobbies. In other words, you're not equipped with the courage to change your current lifestyle. It's easier with the things they are now, even if you have some complaints or limitations. Damn. The call out. Damn. So the philosopher is basically calling you out by saying that the reason why you can't succeed or you can't get a lot of things you want to get in life is because you're making excuses for yourself. This book is just a massive call out. Oh my god. I feel so called out right now. So when people say that oh, I can't get a boyfriend or I can't get a girlfriend because I'm not attractive, and people only want to date people who are attractive, or oh, I can't find a job because I don't have the best education. It seems like it makes sense on surface, but what this book is saying is that these people are just making excuses for themselves. Because if you really wanted to get a job, if you really wanted to find a partner, if you really wanted to get what you wanted, then you should be working on like getting a degree, working on self-improvement so that you become a better version of yourself, so you don't feel unattractive anymore, right? The reason why people say these kind of things is because they want to make an excuse so they don't have to move forward. That actually makes a lot of sense. It just hurts to hear, but it's very true. This is now the courage to be called out. Oh my god. That's so true. 別名, the courage to be called out. That's actually very true. I think if you have the courage to accept a lot of the things that the philosopher in this book says, you can grow to be a better person. Because honestly, some of the concepts hit really, really close home. It's very, what do you call? It hurts, but it's true. The courage to face reality, PN. That's so true. This book is just the courage to face reality. The courage to be called out for your own, what do you call? For not working hard enough, essentially. There was a part like this in the first chapter as well, where the philosopher was talking about how a lot of people who, on the journey of chasing their dreams, they keep working on it, but they never actually take, they talked about a story of an author who never finishes writing a story because they're scared of sending the story out to a publisher and being rejected. So they fixate on the idea of chasing the dream of becoming an author without actually risking taking that step of sending out a fully completed story to a publisher, because they're scared of being told that they're not good enough. And because they're so scared and because they're so insecure, instead they kind of condition themselves to focus on just writing and then not finishing a story and then writing another one, because in that process of chasing the dream, they can run away from the reality that they might have to face if they actually, sent it out to a publisher. So I was like, oh my god, it's just like me for real. Just like me doing freelance voice acting instead of flying to Japan and actually going to voice acting school. Because I'm scared that if I go to voice acting school, I'm gonna realize that I actually suck. This hits too close home. Yeah, it's all about building courage. I think the first step to building courage is acknowledging that sometimes you are very weak and that you want to take the easy way, that sometimes you're a little bit lazy and you go with the easier route because that makes you feel more secure. You don't have the courage to risk it all. And once you can acknowledge that, I think you can start working on building more courage to finally take a risk and go reach for what you really want in life. I kind of see that the author's fear sometimes it's like the journey is more engaging than the destination. Yeah. Sometimes just fixating on the journey instead of trying to reach the destination gives you a false sense of security, like, oh yeah, I'm working so hard towards making my dream come true, but you're not actually taking the big steps, right? You're not taking the big steps. You're doing what's safe. You're going with a safe option. But if you really, really wanted to make your dream come true, you have to take a risk. You have to take a risk. You have to go out of your comfort zone, and a lot of people don't have the courage to do that. That's why some people just kind of enjoy the process of chasing a dream, and then once they get to a certain age, they just give up. Yeah, it's about having the courage to actually risk it, I think. Alright, next part of the book is called Braggarts Have Feelings of Inferiority. I assume a braggart is someone who likes to brag. Can someone check this on Google? Is a braggart someone who likes to brag? I assume it is. B-R-A-G-G-A-R-T. Braggart. I assume that is someone who likes to brag about themselves. So people who like to brag about themselves have feelings of inferiority. Interesting. よいしょ。Braggart, yes, there are those who like to brag. Someone who is boastful or overly proud. Okay, yeah, braggart. Why does it sound like baguette? Why does braggart kind of sound like baguette? It might just be my pronunciation, my Aussie pronunciation. If I emphasize the R, braggart, baguette. Many big words, yeah, lots of big words in this book. I'm trying my best. Okay. So, the previous part ended with the philosopher saying, it's easier with things just they are now, even if you have some complaints or limitations. And then he says, maybe so, but further, you harbor an inferiority complex about education and think, I'm not well educated, so I can't succeed. Put it the other way around. The reasoning can be, if only I were well educated, I would be really successful. That's true. This is the other aspect of the inferiority complex. Those who manifest the inferiority complexes in words or attitudes, who say that A is the situation, so B cannot be done, are implying that if only it were not for A, I'd be capable and have value. If only it weren't for this, I could do it too. Yes, as Adler points out, no one is capable of putting up with having feelings of inferiority for a long period of time. Feelings of inferiority are something that everyone has, but staying in that condition is too heavy to endure forever. Huh? This is getting pretty confusing. Okay, let's go over things one at a time. The condition of having a feeling of inferiority is a condition of feeling some sort of lack in oneself in the present situation. So then the question is, how do you fill in the part that's missing? How to compensate for the part that is lacking. The healthiest way is to try to compensate through striving and growth. For instance, it could be by applying oneself to one's studies, engaging in constant training, or being diligent in one's work. However, those who aren't equipped with that courage end up stepping into an inferiority complex. Again, it's thinking, I'm not well educated, so I can't succeed. And it's implying that your capability by saying, if only I were well educated, I could be really successful. That the real me, which just happens to be obscured right now by the matter of education, is superior. Interesting. This topic is nice. It is, isn't it? It's very eye-opening. I'm really glad I bought this book. I really feel like I'm learning a lot from this book. No, that doesn't make sense. The second thing you're saying is beyond being a feeling of inferiority. That's really more bravado than anything else, isn't it? What's bravado? Bravado? bravado. I've been feeling attacked since earlier, but it's really true. Yeah, same. Just feels like this book is calling me out constantly. Indeed, the inferiority complex can also develop into another special mental state. And what is that? I doubt you have heard much about it. It's the superiority complex. Superiority complex? One is suffering from strong feelings of inferiority, and on top of that, one doesn't have the courage to compensate through healthy modes of striving and growth. That being said, one can't tolerate the inferiority complex thinking. A is the situation, so B cannot be done. One can't accept one's incapable self. At that point, the person thinks of trying to compensate in some other fashion and looks for an easier way out. What way is that? It's to act as if one is indeed superior, and to indulge in a fabricated feeling of superiority. Oh my god. This is just me for real. Wait. Sorry, I had to pause for a second because I just suddenly understood myself. You know, guys, I always thought it was really weird that sometimes I hate myself so much and I feel so worthless, and then I'm so little confidence. But other times I'm so full of myself and I feel like I'm like almost looking down on other people and I'm better than others, and I'm like, how come I simultaneously feel like shit and feel like I'm worthless, but also sometimes I feel so all high and mighty, like I'm above others? Now it all makes sense. In the end, I'm just insecure, and I fabricate a sense of superiority sometimes to feel better about myself. Oh my god, it all makes sense now. That's why I'm like, sometimes I'm confident and sometimes I'm not confident, but actually the confidence is just a fabricated sense of superiority that I use to mask my insecurities. Oh my god. This book made me realize my true self. Oh my god. Bravado. I feel like when I'm being attacked or called out, that's how I know the advice is good, because other people have been in our position before and other people have helped them before. Yeah. As long as you're willing to be called out, I think a lot of the concepts in this book really hit home. They really open your eyes and make you realize it's just you. It's not other people, it's not society, it's you. It's the way you view yourself and the way you view your surroundings and how you motivate yourself, and whether you have the courage to step forward. It's all on you. You have the power to make your life better. So if you look at it in that sense, it's actually very, very inspiring. Of all the people on earth, I choose to hate myself. It's so easy to dislike yourself. But I think if you really want to move forward in life and reach your goals, you have to learn to have the courage to dislike yourself. I think what this book is trying to say is it's okay to dislike yourself, it's okay to feel inferior. It doesn't deny those feelings, but what's important is to have the courage to accept when you are being weak, and to have the courage to try and change yourself and step out of your comfort zone. I think that's what this book is trying to say. Hello Nate, welcome. We are all holding hands in the self-hate club right now talking about how we feel very called out by this book because the protagonist is literally just like me, for real. To be honest, Edo shower a lot of character in her stream suggesting all that. Wait, shower? Or do you mean shower? if you hate criticize yourself, others can't hurt you much hacks. Yeah, I think that's another coping mechanism that a lot of people use, is that they degrade themselves and they put themselves down so that when other people say the same thing, it doesn't hurt as much because they already degraded themselves, right? Like people who have a complex about their height, if they joke about being short, like haha, I'm so short, then when other people tell them that they're short, it hurts less because they're so used to making fun of themselves, right? But what this book is saying is that some things that you might regard as inferior actually isn't inferior. It's all about perspective, right? The philosopher in this book is 155 centimeters. That is by societal standards very short for a male, right? And yet they don't feel a complex about their height because they were able to kind of find a new perspective on their height and see that because they have a more kind of shorter stature, they're able to make people feel really calm and comfortable around them. So it's all about perspective. Just because society is like, yeah, 180 centimeters is the height that you should be at, it doesn't necessarily mean that being tall is better. It's about whether what you have, the assets that you have, the skills that you have, it's about whether what you have can be repurposed to serve you and be useful to what you want to achieve. So yeah. OMG, same as me. Are you 155 centimeters as well? Small good? If so, if small bed feels big. Yeah, that's another way to look at it. If you have a small stature, then you can, the bed feels bigger. You can swim around on your bed. But yeah, it's all about perspective, I think. If you're able to find a perspective that makes what originally felt like something is inferior, I can't talk today. If you're able to find a perspective that makes your assets and your skills shine, then it was never inferior. Being short is not inferior. Something that you think makes you inferior could actually be something that's really, really good if you just repurpose it. So, yeah. Small. Apparently Adler was also 155 centimeters. Hello, sounds small. I'm not. I'm taller than I'm taller than Adler. I'm over 160 centimeters. Oh my god, I'm taller than Adler. Let's go. It's human nature to look at the bad and remember it more. Yeah, right? I remember this exercise that I did with a teacher back at school, where there's a whiteboard and then you would draw a black dot in the center of the whiteboard, and then the teacher would ask, what do you guys see? And everyone would say, a black dot, right? And it's like, for some reason, instead of the entire white board, we just focus on the black dot. Nobody thinks to look at the whiteboard. Everyone just immediately looks at the black dot. And it explains human psychology really well, because we always hyperfixate on the negative things, whether it's on ourselves or on other people. And we tend to overlook the positive side of things. So it's really important to rewind your mindset and remember to look for the positives in everything. Losing hurts twice as bad as winning feels good. I think that applies in this context. Yeah, exactly. Negative feelings always hit harder and just, always gives you a stronger emotional response. I think we're programmed to feel that way biologically. So it's really easy to lose sight of what you're good at and only focus on what you're not good at. So guys, every day, remember to give yourself a pat on the back and think about the things that you're good at. Just forget about the things that you need to work on for a second, and make sure you praise yourself, and make sure you focus on what you can already do and what you're good at for a little bit. That's what I do when I feel bad about, like, I don't know, my video editing skills or my singing. Sometimes I hyperfixate on the fact that I'm not good enough as a streamer, or I'm not good enough as a singer. But then I think about voice acting, and I'm like, you know what? I might not be the best singer or the best streamer, but at least in terms of voice acting, I think I'm pretty good. And I try to remind myself that even if I'm not as good as other people in other areas, at least I have one or two things that I can be proud of, like my language skills too, right? Like maybe I'm not really good at gaming and I can't play like Valorant and get a bunch of kills, but I can speak 3 languages. It's really important to remind yourself of the things that you can do. Yeah. Okay, guys, daily reminder that you are amazing, and you need to say that to yourself. Bocce the Rock makes me wanna go back to being a bartender. Was there a bartender in Bocce? Bocce was also very relatable. So many just like me for real things recently. This book too just makes me feel, oh my god, the protagonist is just like me for real. That's very healthy. Yeah. Remember to actually look at the things that you already can do and that you're good at. Oh, the place reminds you of a rock bar. That's kind of true. Oh wait, we need to keep going. Where was I up to? How do you feel in the part that's missing, right? Exactly. How to compensate for the part that is lacking. The healthiest way is to try to compensate through striving and growth. For instance, it could be by applying oneself to one's studies, engaging in constant training, or being diligent to one's work. However, people who aren't equipped with that courage end up stepping into an inferiority complex. Again, it's thinking, I'm not well educated, so I can't succeed. And it's implying your capability by saying, if only I were well educated, I could be really successful. That the real me, which just happens to be obscured right now by the matter of education, is superior. Wait, I lost sight of where I was up to. Oh no, I already got up to the superiority complex part. Pero. Machikaeta. I already read to the page 65, but I reread 64. A fabricated sense of superiority. Yeah, that's what we got up to. We talked a bit too much about life, I forgot. Okay. A familiar example would be giving authority. What does that mean? One makes a show of being on good terms with a powerful person. Broadly speaking, it could be anyone, from the leader of your school class to a famous celebrity. And by doing that, one lets it be known that one is special. Behaviors like misrepresenting one's work experience or excessive allegiance to particular brands of clothing are forms of giving authority, and probably also have aspects of the superiority complex. In each case, it isn't that the I is actually superior or special. It is only that one is making the I look superior by linking it to authority. In short, it's a fabricated sense of superiority. And at the base of that, there is an intense feeling of inferiority. Of course, I don't know much about fashion, but I think it's advisable to think that people who wear rings with rubies and emeralds on their fingers as having issues with feelings of inferiority rather than issues of aesthetic sensibility. In other words, they have a sign of superiority complex. Oh my god, wait. Does anybody in chat wear fashion rings? Oh my god. This book just called out everyone who wears fashion rings. Oh my god. This book literally just said if you wear like fancy rings with like fancy jewels and stuff, it's not because you care for aesthetics, but it's because you want to feel superior. This is not me. It's not me. It's the book. The book. This is what the book is saying. Oh no. Oh Max, do you wear fashion rings? No fashion rings. I think this actually makes a lot of sense. You know what? This is how I feel about people who wear watches. Don't you guys think? Especially now, like in this day and age, because everyone has a smartphone, right? So most people who wear a watch, they don't wear it because they need to check the time. They wear it because it's like almost a way to show their social status, right? Because you can buy like branded really expensive watches. So people who I think wear a watch, I know some people do it because it like matches their clothes and they genuinely really care about fashion, but there is no denying that I think a lot of people, the reason why they buy watches and they wear it is because it's almost like they're trying to show their social status. It's like a feeling of superiority, just like this book says. I think it applies more to watches than rings, maybe. Actually, no, rings? Yeah, rings work too. I like my friendship ring. That's cute. That's cute. I've gotten a few rings from my friends that I don't wear. I just don't have the habit of wearing rings. I had to wear a watch to a job because I wasn't officially allowed to check my phone. Oh, okay, that makes sense. Oh my god, my face is stuck. あれ戻ってきた。顔がちょっと凍ってしまいました。My face got stuck for a second. ASMR, except the whole time I'm just going. I got stuck. I'm back. Okay, that makes sense. Maybe some workplaces require you to wear a phone. Not phone, I to wear a watch. And some older generations might prefer a watch, yeah. I definitely know that some people who wear watches because they want to show the brand though. Yeah. Donald Duck ASMR? How does Donald Duck talk? I said I would do a bird ASMR for April Fool's Day, where I just go. And then fish ASMR. Fish ASMR. Anyways, back to reading. But those who make themselves look bigger on borrowed power are essentially living according to other people's value systems. They are living other people's lives. This is a point that must be emphasized. I wear broken watches sometimes because my hand feels empty. Ooh, I guess that makes sense. I feel like it's mostly people who wear like really expensive brand watches who are kind of doing it because they're trying to feel like they're in power, you know? So, a superiority complex. That's a very interesting psychology. Can you give me a different example? There's the kind of person who likes to boast about his achievements. Someone who clings onto his past glory and is always recounting memories of the time when his light shone brightest. Maybe you know some people like this. I definitely do. All such people can be said to have superiority complexes. The kind of man who boasts about his achievements, yes, it is an arrogant attitude. But he can boast because he is actually superior. You can't call that a fabricated feeling of superiority. Ah, but you are wrong. Those who go as far as to boast about things out loudly actually have no confidence in themselves. The call out. As Adler clearly indicates, the one who boasts does so only out of a feeling of inferiority. Damn. This book is essentially saying that people who feel the need to boast about their achievements actually feel inferior. That's so interesting. You're saying that boasting is an inverted feeling of inferiority? That's right. If one really has confidence in oneself, one doesn't feel the need to boast. It's because of one's feeling of inferiority that one boasts. One feels the need to flaunt one's superiority all the more. There's the fear that if one doesn't do that, not a single person will accept the way I am. This is a full-blown superiority complex. That's so interesting. So, though one would think from the sound of the words that inferiority complex and superiority complex were polar opposites, in actuality, they border on each other? Yes, they are clearly connected. Now, there's one last example I'd like to give. A complex example that deals with boasting. It is a pattern leading to a particular feeling of superiority that manifests due to the feeling of inferiority itself becoming intensified. Concretely speaking, it's bragging about one's own misfortune. Bragging about one's own misfortune? The person who assumes a boasting manner when talking about his upbringing and the like, the various misfortunes that have rained down upon him. If someone should try to comfort this person or suggest some change can be made, he'll refuse the helping hand by saying, "You don't understand how I feel." Oh my god. No, the call out. No, this is me. Holy shit. This is me and a lot of people that I know. Oh my god. Well, there are people like that, but such people try to make themselves special by way of their experience of misfortune, and with the single fact of their misfortune try to place themselves above others. Take the fact that I am short, for instance. Let's say that kind-hearted people come up to me and say, "It's nothing to worry about," or "Such things have nothing to do with human values." Now, if I were to reject them and say, "You think you know what short people go through, huh?" No one would say a thing to me anymore. I'm sure that everyone around me would start treating me as if I were just a boil about to burst, and would handle me very carefully, or should I say, circumspectly. Absolutely true. By doing that, my position becomes superior to other people's, and I can become special. Quite a few people try to be a special being by adopting this kind of attitude when they are sick or injured, or suffering the mental anguish of a heartbreak. So, they reveal their true feelings of inferiority and use it to their advantage? Yes, they use their misfortune to their advantage and try to control the other party with it. Damn. Also said no more oversharing. I think they're more like no trauma dumping. No trauma dumping, says Adler. By declaring how unfortunate they are and how much they have suffered, They are trying to worry the people around them, their family and friends, for example, and to restrict their speech and behavior and control them. The people I was talking about at the very beginning, who shut themselves up in their rooms, frequently indulge in feelings of superiority. They use misfortune to their advantage, so much so that Adler himself pointed out, in our culture, weakness can be quite strong and powerful. So, weakness is powerful? Adler says, in fact, if we were to ask ourselves who is the strongest person in our culture, the logical answer would be the baby. The baby rules and cannot be dominated. The baby rules over the adults with his weakness, and it is because of this weakness that no one can control him. I've never encountered that viewpoint. Of course, the words of the person who has been hurt, "You don't understand how I feel," are likely to contain a certain degree of truth. Completely understanding the feelings of the person who is suffering is something that no one is capable of. But as long as one continues to use one's misfortune to one's advantage in order to be special, one will always need that misfortune. Damn. The youth and philosopher had now covered a series of discussion topics: the feelings of inferiority, the inferiority complex, and the superiority complex. Psychology keywords, though they clearly were, the truth they contained differed greatly from the youth's imagined meanings. Still, something didn't feel right to him somehow. What is it about all this that I'm having a hard time accepting? Well, it must be the introductory part, the premise, that is giving me doubts. The youth calmly opened his mouth to speak. Oh, the next part is called "Life is not a competition." Damn. Yo, sometimes just the title of these books kind of hits hard. But this is something that my mom says to me all the time. My mom's always saying to me, "Elu, life is not a competition. Just because somebody else is successful, that doesn't mean that you can't be successful." And it's like, it's such an easy concept to understand, but it's so hard. We always put ourselves in competition with other people. I don't know why my neck hurts so much today sitting in this chair. Hello, gamer chair? Why is my gamer chair so uncomfy today? Yoisha. Yoisha. Yeah. Do you guys ever find yourselves putting yourselves in competition with other people when there's no need to? I know I definitely do. Yeah. Yes. Definitely, yeah. I wonder why we always treat life like a competition when in reality it doesn't need to be. Let's see what the philosopher has to say. Okay. But I guess I still don't really get it. Okay. Ask me anything you'd like. Adler recognizes that the pursuit of superiority, one's trying to be a more superior being, that a universal desire. Wait, I can't read today. Oh my god, the text is so small. My eyes. Meganifix. I'm doing the anime character glasses fix thing right now. Okay. Adler recognizes that the pursuit of superiority, one's trying to be a more superior thing, one's trying to be a more superior being, is a universal desire, doesn't he? On the other hand, he's striking a note of warning with regard to excessive feelings of inferiority and superiority. It'd be easy to understand if he could renounce the pursuit of superiority. Then I could accept it. What are we supposed to do? Think about it this way. When we refer to the pursuit of superiority, there's a tendency to think of it as the desire to try to be superior to other people, as the desire to climb higher, even if it means kicking others down. You know, the image of ascending a stairway and pushing people out of the way to get to the top. Adler does not uphold such attitudes, of course. Rather, he's saying that on the same level playing field, there are people who are moving forward and there are people who are moving forward behind them. Keep that image in mind. Though the distance covered and the speed of the walking differ, everyone is walking equally in the same flat place. The pursuit of superiority is the mindset of taking a single step forward on one's own feet, not the mindset of competition of the sort that necessitates aiming to be greater than other people. Oh, that's interesting. As long as you're winning. Are you winning, son? You winning? I think that's a really interesting way to visualize it. Probably something a therapist would say to you. So when you're trying to reach a goal, and obviously you're gonna have competition in everything you do, right? Whether that's trying to get a job or, if you're doing YouTube like I am, you do have competitors, definitely. But instead of visualizing it as if it's one singular staircase and you're trying to push others off or you're trying to push across other people in order to climb higher, think of it as a flat plane where there's space for everyone to run in their own lane. And while there may be other people running in front of you, it doesn't necessarily mean you have to push them out of your way or that you have to push across them to move forward. You can move forward at your own pace. You're still moving forward in your own lane. It's not one lane. Everyone has their own lane. Just because somebody else is further in their own lane, that doesn't mean you're any less. You can just keep going at your own pace in your own lane. I think that's a really good way to visualize it so you don't see it as like a competition. Meanwhile in Blue Lock, true. I actually kind of like the philosophy explored in Blue Lock as well. I'm gonna talk more about it in my next anime talk stream. I'll probably do one around when episode 7-ish airs of the anime this season. I really want to talk about the philosophy in Blue Lock. I think it's really interesting. I'm not winning, Dad. I'm not winning either, Dad. It's okay. One day we'll win. Okay, so the youth says, so life is not a competition? That's right. It's enough to just keep moving in a forward direction without competing with anyone. And, of course, there's no need to compare oneself with others. No, that's impossible. We'll always compare ourselves to other people, no matter what. That's exactly where our feeling of inferiority comes from, isn't it? A healthy feeling of inferiority is not something that comes from comparing oneself to others, but from one's comparison with one's ideal self. Wait, that makes so much sense. Oh, okay. But, look, all of us are different. Gender, age, knowledge, experience, appearance. No two of us are exactly the same. Let's acknowledge in a positive manner the fact that other people are different from us and that we are not the same, but we are equal. We are not the same, but we are equal? That's right. Everyone is different. Don't mix up that difference with good and bad, and superior and inferior. Whatever differences we may have, we are all equal. No distinction of rank for people. Idealistically speaking, I suppose so. But aren't we trying to have an honest discussion about reality? Would you really say, for instance, that I, an adult, and a child who is still struggling with his arithmetic, are equal? Life is a marathon. It does not matter whoever comes first. The important thing is that everyone will eventually cross the finish line. Exactly. Yeah, right. That's the way to look at it. I think it's so easy to forget that you can go at your own pace, and then we start feeling threatened by other people's success, when just because somebody got a job, it doesn't mean you can't get a job. Maybe that specific position, if you were, at the same interview, maybe somebody else took that specific position that you were looking for, but that doesn't mean that you can't find a job. You can still find a job. So I think, yeah, it's important to see life as a marathon. In terms of the amount of knowledge and experience and amount of responsibility that can be taken, there are bound to be differences. The child might not be able to tie his shoes properly or figure out complicated mathematical equations, or be able to take the same degree of responsibility as an adult when problems arise. However, such things shouldn't have anything to do with human values. My answer is the same. Human beings are all equal, but not the same. Then, are you saying that a child should be treated like a full-grown adult? No. Instead of treating the child like an adult or like a child, one must treat them like a human being. One interacts with the child with sincerity as another human being, just like oneself. Okay, let's change the question. All people are equal. They're on the same level playing field. But actually, there's disparity here, isn't there? Those who moved forward are superior, and those who pursue them from behind are inferior. So we end up at the problem of superior and inferior, don't we? No, we do not. It does not matter if one is trying to walk in front of others or walk behind them. It is as if we are moving through a flat space that has no vertical axis. We do not walk in order to compete with someone. It is in trying to progress past who one is now that there is value. Have you become free from all forms of competition? Of course. I do not think about gaining status or honor, and I live my life as an outsider philosopher without any connection whatsoever to worldly competition. Does that mean you dropped out of competition? That you somehow accepted defeat? No. I withdrew from places that are preoccupied with winning and losing. When one is trying to be oneself, competition will inevitably get in the way. No way. That's a tired-out old man's argument. Young folks like me have to pull themselves up by their own bootstraps amid the tension of competition. It's because I don't have a rival running alongside me that I can't outdo myself. What's wrong with thinking of interpersonal relationships as competitive? If that rival was someone you could call a comrade, it's possible that it would lead to self-improvement. But in many cases, a competitor will not be your comrade. Meaning what, exactly? The next part is called, You're the Only One Worrying About Your Appearance. Oh my god. Guys, every single subtitle of the chapters in chapter 2 is just a call out. Hello? People who brag have feelings of inferiority. You're the only one worrying about your appearance. An inferiority complex is an excuse. Every single part is just a call out. Sheesh. So now, copium. No copium max. It's okay. That's actually a good thing because it means that you're the only one who's worrying so much about how you look, and other people might not even like really judge you for it, you know? They are all attacks for real. This is actually kind of true. Cause like I worry a lot about what other people think of me and like my appearance too, but when I flip the perspective and I think about how I look at other people, like I don't randomly go out in the streets, see someone and just think to myself, "Huh, they're ugly." I don't do that. which means most other people in the world probably don't do that too. They don't do it to me either. I don't randomly look at someone and just think, "Huh, they're ugly," or their fashion sense sucks. I don't even take that much time and attention to look at people. Like I'm thinking about, oh, I gotta buy my groceries. Like I don't have the time to look at some random person on the street and judge them for their appearance. So actually, a lot of the times when you feel like people are judging you for how you look, that's just you being overly conscious and nobody actually cares. I think. What I do to the author, bro? Why he attacking me like this? I think this book hit home for a lot of people. That's probably why it became a bestseller. It has really good reviews. A lot of people say it changed their life. Low-key, I feel like this book is kind of life-changing for me too. It's very eye-opening. I don't even look at myself. Same. Ever since COVID, I stopped looking at myself. It's been so long since I put on makeup and left the house. I kinda miss dressing up, but like I don't really have anyone to meet, so yeah. Maybe if I get back to cosplaying this year, I can get back to makeup. I don't even remember how to put on eyeshadow. I'm kinda scared that I lost all of my makeup skills. Oh wait, let's see what the philosopher has to say about you being the only one worrying about your appearance. Oh. Let's tie up the loose ends. At the outset, you expressed dissatisfaction with Adler's definition that all problems are interpersonal relationship problems, right? That was the basis for our discussion on feelings of inferiority. Yes, that's right. The subject of feelings of inferiority was too intense, and I was on the verge of forgetting that point. Why did you bring up the subject in the first place? It's connected with the subject of competition. Please remember that. If there is competition at the core of a person's interpersonal relationships, he will not be able to escape interpersonal relationship problems or escape misfortune. Why not? Because at the end of a competition, there are winners and losers. It's perfectly fine to have winners and losers. Give some thought to it then. If it were you, specifically, who had a consciousness of being in competition with the people around you and your relations with them, you will have no choice but to be conscious of victory or defeat. Mr. A got into this famous university. Mr. B found work at that big company. And Mr. G has hooked up with such a nice-looking woman. And you'll compare yourself to them and think, this is all I've got. That's pretty specific. When one is conscious of competition and victory and defeat, it is inevitable that feelings of inferiority will arise. Because one is constantly comparing oneself to others and thinking, I beat that person, or I lost to that person. The inferiority complex and the superiority complex are extensions of that. Now, what kind of being do you think the other person is to you at that point? I don't know, a rival, I guess?
No, not a mere rival. Before you know it, you start to see each and every person, everyone in the whole world, as your enemy.
My enemy?
You start to think that people always look down on you and treat you with scorn, that they're all enemies who must never be underestimated, who lie in wait for any opening and attack at the drop of a hat. In short, that the world is a terrifying place.
Enemies who must never be underestimated. That's who I'm in competition with?
This is so terrifying. This is what's so terrifying about competition. Even if you're not a loser, even if you're someone who keeps on winning, even if you're someone who has placed himself in competition, you will never have a moment's peace. You don't want to be a loser. And you always have to keep on winning if you don't want to be a loser. You can't trust other people. The reason that so many people don't really feel happy while they're building up their success in the eyes of society is that they are living in competition. Because to them, the world is a perilous place that is overflowing with enemies. Oh my god, this is so true.
Don't want to leave because it's very interesting, but I just catch the bot. I'm gonna head out for now. Bye bye, Louie. Good night. I hope if you're going to bed, I hope you sleep well.
This is very interesting indeed.
I think this is kind of me. I have a tendency to view everyone around me as enemies. I have a really bad habit of viewing people who are in the same field as me as enemies instead of like trying to be friends with them, which is like really detrimental to my ability to making friends and collaborating with people. I really need to drop it. Good morning, Zeta. Are you up for some early morning philosophical concepts that will make you question your life? Then you've come to the right place. Welcome, Zeta.
This chapter 2 kind of be hitting harder than chapter 1 in terms of relatability.
Okay. I suppose so,
But do other people actually look at you so much? Are they really watching you around the clock and lying in, waiting for the perfect moment to attack? It seems rather unlikely. A young friend of mine, when he was a teenager, used to spend a lot of time in front of the mirror arranging his hair. And once, when he was doing so, his grandmother said, "You're the only one who's worried about how you look." He says that it got a bit easier for him to deal with life after that. Oh my god, his grandma is just like my mom for real.
Hey, that's a dig at me, isn't it? Sure, maybe I do see the people around me as enemies. I'm constantly in fear of being attacked, of the arrows that could come flying at me any moment. I always think that I'm being watched by others, that I'm being subjected to harsh judgment, and that I'm going to be attacked. And it's probably true that this is a self-conscious reaction. Just like the mirror-obsessed teenager, the people of the world aren't paying attention to me. Even if I were to go walking on my hands down the street, they take no notice. But I don't know. Are you saying, after all, that my feelings of inferiority is something that I chose? That has some kind of goal? That doesn't make any sense to me. And why is that? I have a brother who's 3 years older than I am. He fits the classic image of being the big brother. He always does what our parents say. He excels in his studies and in sports, and he's the very picture of diligence. And from the time I was little, I was always compared to him. He's older and more advanced. So, of course, I could never beat him at anything. Our parents did not care at all about such circumstances and never gave any sign of recognition. Whatever I did, I got treated like a child, and I was berated at every opportunity and got told to be quiet. I learned to keep my feelings to myself. I've lived my life totally steeped in feelings of inferiority, and I had no choice but to be conscious of being in competition with my brother. I see. Sometimes I think of it like this. I'm like a gourd? Is it gourd? Gourd? Is it gourd? I'm like a gourd that grew without getting enough sun. So, it is only natural that I'm all twisted up with feelings of inferiority. If there's anyone who could grow straight in such a situation, I'd love to meet them. I understand. I really do understand how you feel. Now, let's look at competition while taking into consideration your relationship with your brother. If you didn't think with a competition orientation with regard to your brother and your other interpersonal relationships, how would people seem to you? Well, my brother's my brother, and I guess other people are another story. No, they should become positive comrades. Comrades? ゴードってかぼちゃみたいなやつでしょでしたっけ。そうそうそう、かぼちゃみたいだけど形がちょっと梨に似てるあれです。でも U がついてますね。GOURD です。 Gourd.
Earlier, didn't you say, I can't celebrate other people's happiness with all my heart? You think of interpersonal relationships as competition. You perceive other people's happiness as my defeat, and that is why you can't celebrate it. However, once one is released from the schema of competition, the need to triumph over someone disappears. One is also released from the fear that says, maybe I will lose, and one becomes able to celebrate other people's happiness with all one's heart. One may be able to contribute actively to other people's happiness. The person who always has the will to help another in times of need. That is someone who may be properly called your comrade.
Isn't cool that thing on Gaara's back? Yeah. そう、ナルトのガーラくんの背中にあるあれです。Yeah. The thing that Gaara has is a gourd.
Now we come to the important part. When you are able to truly feel that people are my comrades, your way of looking at the world will change utterly. No longer will you think of the world as a perilous place or be plagued by needless doubts. The world will appear before you as a safe and pleasant place, and your interpersonal relationship problems will decrease dramatically.
What a happy person you are. But you know, that's all like a sunflower. It's the reasoning that a sunflower that is bathed in full sunshine every day and nurtured with ample watering. A gourd grown in a dim shade doesn't do so well.
You are returning to etiology, the attributing of causes again.
Oh yes, I sure am. ひょうたん、あ、そうです。ひょうたんですね。
Raised by strict parents, the youth had been oppressed and compared to his elder brother ever since childhood. None of his opinions were ever heard, and he was subjected to the violent words that he was a poor excuse for a little brother. Unable to make friends even at school, he spent all his break time alone in the library, which became his sole purpose of refuge. The youth who had passed his early years in such way was truly an inhabitant of etiology. If he had not been raised by those parents, if that elder brother had never existed, and if he had not attended that school, he could have had a brighter life. The youth had been trying to participate in the discussion as cool-headedly as possible, but now his many years of pent-up feelings came bursting out. The next part is called From Power Struggle to Revenge. Revenge. Damn. Now the next chapter sounds like a shonen manga. From power struggle to revenge. That sounds like Sasuke. Sasuke's life story. From power struggle to revenge. Okay, so all this talk about teleology and such is pure sophistry, and trauma definitely does exist, and people cannot break free from the past. Surely you realize that? We cannot go back to the past in a time machine. As long as the past exists as the past, we live within the context from the past. If one were to treat the past as something that does not exist, that would be the same as negating the entire life one has led. Are you suggesting I choose such an irresponsible life? It is true that one cannot use a time machine or turn back the hands of time, but what kind of meaning does one attribute to past events? This is the task that's given to you now. Alright, so let's talk about now. Last time, you said that people fabricate the emotion of anger, right? And that is the standpoint of teleology. I still cannot accept that statement. For example, how would you explain instances of anger towards society or anger towards government? Would you say that these two are emotions fabricated in order to push one's opinions? Certainly, there are times where I feel indignation with regard to social problems, but I would say that rather than a sudden burst of emotion, it is indignation based on logic. There is a difference between personal anger and indignation with regard to society's contradictions and injustices. Personal anger soon cools. Righteous indignations, on the other hand, last for a long time. Anger as an expression of personal grudge is nothing but a tool for making others submit to you. You say that personal grudges and righteous indignation are different? They are completely different. The righteous indignation goes beyond one's own interests. Then I'll ask about personal grudges. Surely, even you get angry sometimes. For instance, if someone hurls abuse at you for no particular reason, don't you? No, I do not. Come on, be honest. If someone were to abuse me to my face, I would think about the person's hidden goal. If you are not directly abusive, when you feel genuinely angry due to another person's words or behavior, please consider that the person is challenging you to a power struggle. A power struggle? For instance, a child would tease an adult with various pranks and mischievous behavior. In many cases, this is something done with the goal of getting attention, and will cease just before the adult gets genuinely angry. However, if the child does not stop between the adult gets genuinely angry, then his goal is to actually get in a fight. Damn. Why would he want to get into a fight? He wants to win. He wants to prove his power by winning. Is this book saying that babies throw tantrums because they want to get in a fight and win? Damn. Wait. Babies already be on that grind. They want to win too. I really don't get that. Could you give me some concrete examples? Let's say you and a friend have been discussing the current political situation. Before long, it turns into a heated argument until finally it reaches to the point where he starts engaging in personal attacks. that you're stupid, and that it's because of people like you that this country doesn't change. That sort of thing. But if someone said that to me, I wouldn't be able to put up with it. In this case, what is the other person's goal? Is it only that he wants to discuss politics? No, it isn't. It's that he finds you unbearable, and he wants to criticize and provoke you, and make you submit through a power struggle. If you get angry at this point, the moment he has been anticipating will arrive, and the relationship will suddenly turn into a power struggle. No matter what the provocation, you must not get taken in. No, there's no need to run away from it. If someone wants to start a fight, it's fine to accept it, because it's the other guy who's at fault anyway. You can bash his nose in, stupid fool, with words, that is.
Pew 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 pew.
Now, let's say you take control of the quarrel, and then the other man, who is seeking to defeat you, withdraws in a sportsmanlike manner. The thing is, the power struggle doesn't end there. Having lost the dispute, he rushes onto the next stage.
The next stage?
Yes, the revenge stage. Though he has withdrawn for the time being, he will be scheming some revenge in another place, in another form, and he will reappear in an act of retaliation.
Like for what, for instance?
The child oppressed by his parents will turn to delinquency. He'll stop going to school. He'll cut his wrists or engage in other acts of self-harm. In Freudian etymology, this is regarded as simple cause and effect. The parents raised the child this way, and that is why the child grew up to be like that. It's just pointing out that a plant wasn't watered, so it withered. It's an important interpretation that is certainly easy to understand. But Alderian teleology does not turn a blind eye to the goal that the child is hiding. It is to say, the goal of revenge on the parents. If he becomes a delinquent, stops going to school, cuts his wrists or things like that, the parents will be upset. They'll panic and worry themselves sick over him. It is in the knowledge that this will happen that the child engages in problem behavior, so that the current goal, revenge on the parents, can be realized, not because he is motivated by past causes. He engages in problem behavior in order to upset his parents? That's right. There are probably a lot of people who feel mystified by seeing a child who cuts his wrists, and think, why would he do such a thing? But try and think about how the people around the child, the parents for instance, will feel as a result of the behavior of wrist cutting. If you do, the goal behind the behavior should come into view of its own accord. The goal being revenge? Yes. And once the interpersonal relationship reaches the revenge stage, it is almost impossible for either party to find a solution. To prevent this from happening, when one is challenged to a power struggle, one must never allow themselves to be taken in. Damn. Also, I don't know if you guys realize, but in the last paragraph, the more I read it, the more I got sleepy. Like I literally got like kind of sleepy halfway through reading the second part, and I was like, couldn't open my eyes.
Suppy. I think it's listening to this music is kind of making me sleepy too.
When you read yourself to sleep, holy crap.
お疲れ様です。いえいえ、今回も聞いてくれてありがとう。あともう少しかな。なんかね、音楽聴いててすごい落ち着くから、自分でもちょっと眠くなっちゃいました。
Professional. Yeah, I was so professional. I made myself sleepy by reading.
Let me see.
How many parts are left? Oh, there's actually quite a lot left. Damn. There's actually a lot left. We'll see. I can stop like, because every chapter is broken up into like mini parts, so I can stop a little earlier if I get sleepy. Sleeping together streams are a thing too. Okay guys, time to sleep. Sleeping ASMR. Now I'll read a little bit more, but actually I think it's time for me to stretch a little bit. Let me stretch a little bit and now read a little bit more. The next part is called Admitting Fault is Not Defeat. AOT Final Season Part 3 same vibe. Oh yeah. Chapter 2 Part 3. Because I think the first chapter is a little shorter than chapter 2, so let me tie my hair up. ずっと同じポジションで座ってるとちょっと首が痛くなるのでね、ちょっと首をマッサージしなきゃ。後でマッサージチェアに乗ろうかな。うちマッサージチェアあるんですよ。引っ越した時になんか引っ越しお祝いで親が買ったの。私は全然使わないけど。Do you guys know that I have a massage chair at home? I don't use it at all, but my parents bought it for themselves when we moved houses a few years ago. We have a massage chair at home. Wait. But like, I'm too weak. So when I sit on the massage chair, I'm like, ow. Because it kind of hurts. When it massages me, it kind of hurts. Even if I put it on the lowest like level, it still kind of hurts. So I'm just on the massage chair like, ow, ASMR. Why do I sound like a seagull? Hashtag I'm only sleeping. Sippy. I should actually do a stream where I'm just sleeping. Would you guys come to a stream where I'm just sleeping? I'm just... That pew 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 kept me awake. Pew 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 pew. Wait, I can make it go left and right. Wait. Just as I take a little bit of break to stretch myself a little bit, let me do some onomatopoeia. ね。There we go. Wait, could you guys hear that go from left to right? I hope you could. Awa awa. You realized even with an ergonomic chair, if your head is in like the same position for too long, your neck starts hurting. Take cover, guys. We are in the middle of pew pew battlefield. Pew 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 pew. Pew 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 pew. When I do pew pew, I just think of Stuck in the Abyss. I'm stuck in the abyss. Pew 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 pew. Pew pew pew. Oh wait. Oh, might be because of my onesie making my back
not as stable on the back of the seat. Yesha. Let me fix my headrest a little bit. Pew 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 pew. Pew 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 pew. Does pew 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 sound nice in ASMR? I don't know what are the best onomatopoeias. My favorite is still kara 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 kara. Kara 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 kara. Yoisha. Okay. Next part. Admitting fault is not defeat. Alright, then what should you do when you're subjected to personal attacks right to your face? Do you just grin and bear it? No, the idea that you are bearing it is proof that you are still stuck in the power struggle. When you are challenged to fight and you sense that it is a power struggle, step down from the conflict as soon as possible. Do not answer his action with a reaction. This is the only thing we can do. But is it really that easy to not respond to provocation? Is it provocation? Provocation. I don't know if my intonation is correct. Provocation. Is it provocation? In the first place, how would you say I could control my anger? When you control your anger, you're bearing it, right? Instead, let's learn a way to settle things without using the emotion of anger. Because after all, anger is a tool, a means for achieving a goal. That's a tough one. The first thing I want you to understand here is the fact that anger is a form of communication, and that communication is nevertheless possible without using anger. We can convey our thoughts and intentions and be accepted without any need for anger. If you learn to understand this experimentally, the anger emotion will stop appearing all on its own. But what if they come at you with mistaken accusations or make insulting comments? I shouldn't get angry even then? You don't seem to understand yet. It's not that you mustn't get angry, but that there is no need to rely on the tool of anger. Irascible people do not have short tempers. It is only that they do not know that there are effective communication tools other than anger. That is why people end up saying things like, I just snapped, or he flew into a rage. We'd end up relying on anger to communicate. Effective communication tools rather than anger. We have language. We can communicate through language. Believe in the power of language and the language of logic. Certainly, if I did not believe in that, I wouldn't be having this dialogue. One more thing about the power struggles. In every instance, no matter how much you might think you are right, try not to criticize the other party on that basis. This is an interpersonal relationship trap that many people fall into. Why is that? The moment one is convinced that I am right in an interpersonal relationship, one has already stepped into a power struggle. Just because you think you're right? No way. That's just blowing things out of proportion. I am right. That is to say, the other party is wrong. At that point, the focus of the discussion shifts from the rightness of the assertions to the state of interpersonal relationship. In other words, the conviction that I am right leads to the assumption that this person is wrong, and finally, it becomes a contest, and you're thinking, I have to win. It's a power struggle through and through. Oh, that's true. In the first place,
The rightness of one's assertions has nothing to do with winning or losing. If you think you are right, regardless of what other people's opinion might be, the matter should be closed then and there. However, many people will rush into a power struggle and try to make others submit to them. And that is why they think of admitting a mistake as admitting defeat. Interesting.
Illuminati. Thank you so much for the support, Serena. Thank you for the 6-month membership. And the bread. The bread. I feel like I get hungry a bit less recently during streams. Maybe it's thanks to Serena's bread. Thank you, Serena.
I think this part's really interesting. That people think of admitting a mistake as admitting defeat, and that's why they're not willing to own up to their mistakes, and that's why they don't grow. That actually makes a lot of sense. Yes, there definitely is that aspect. Because of one's mindset of not wanting to lose, one is unable to admit one's mistakes. The result being that one ends up choosing the wrong path. Admitting mistakes, conveying words of apology, and stepping down from power struggles. None of those things is defeat. The pursuit of superiority is not something that is carried out through competition with other people. So, when you're hung up on winning or losing, you lose the ability to make the right choices? Yes. It clouds your judgment, and all you can see is imminent victory or defeat. Then, you turn down the wrong path. It's only when we take away the lenses of competition and winning and losing that we can begin to correct and change ourselves.
Damn.
It seems like viewing life as a competition really damages our ability to better ourselves. Mindset check, guys. Everyone in chat right now, mindset check. You gotta stop viewing life as a competition. Seems like it's more positive if you stop viewing your life as a competition. How much have I read? Oh my god, wait, I've read a lot. I've read a lot. The second night just seems to be a little bit longer than the first one.
I'm auto stuck again. I'm back. Life is competition against your past self. You want to be better than you yesterday. Yeah, I think that's the better way to look at it. That's the more positive way to look at it. Is if you really can't stop seeing life as a competition, then see it as a competition against yourself, right? Because you can't control other people. You can only control yourself. So you can only adapt and change yourself to be who you want to be, to be in a position that you want to be. So what does awa awa even mean? I see VTubers say it all the time, and honestly, I don't know what awa awa means. What does awa awa mean, guys? Awa awa. Awa awa. The next part of the book is called Overcoming the Tasks That Face You in Life. It's either an uwu-fied version of ara ara or some weird dog sound. Oh, I see. I feel like when it's dogs, people go woof woof bak bak arf arf. Arf arf. Yeah. Maybe it is an uwu-fied version of ara ara. Awa awa. Okay, yeah, it kind of does sound like it. Ara ara. Awa awa. Yeah. I can be your, I don't know. Awa awa is like a noise you make when you're being upset. Oh, Awa awa. Awa awa. Sag.
I don't know what awa awa means. I just hear VTubers say it all the time.
Sounds like One Piece laugh. Oh yeah, it does. One Piece has some characters with like really distinct laughs. Okay. Overcoming the tasks that face you in life. Okay, but there's still a problem. It's the statement, all problems are interpersonal relationship problems. I can see that the feeling of inferiority is an interpersonal relationship worry, and that it has certain effects on us. And I accept as logical the idea that life is not a competition. I cannot see other people as comrades, and somewhere inside me, I think of them as enemies. This is certainly the case. But the thing I find puzzling is, why does Adler place so much importance on interpersonal relationships? Why does he go so far as to say all of them? The issue of interpersonal relationships is so important that no matter how broadly it is discussed, it never seems to suffice. Last time I told you, what you are lacking is the courage to be happy. You remember that, right? Couldn't forget even if I tried.
So, why do you see other people as enemies? And why can't you think of them as your comrades? It is because you have lost your courage and you are running away from your life tasks.
My life tasks?
Right. This is a crucial point. In Alderian psychology, clear objectives are laid out for human behavior and psychology.
What sort of objectives?
First, there are two objectives for behavior: to be self-reliant and to live in harmony with society. Then, the objectives for the psychology that supports these behaviors are the consciousness that I have the ability, and the consciousness that people are my comrades.
Just a moment. I'm writing this down. There are the following two objectives for behavior: to be self-reliant and to live in harmony with society. And there are the following two objectives for the psychology that supports these behaviors: the consciousness that I have the ability, and the consciousness that people are my comrades. Okay, I can see that it is a crucial subject to be self-reliant as an individual while living in harmony with people and society. It seems to tie in with everything we've been discussing. And these objectives can be achieved by facing what Adler calls life tasks. Then, what are life tasks?
Let's think about the word life as tracing back to childhood. During childhood, we are protected by our parents and can live without needing to work. But eventually, the time comes when one has to be self-reliant. One cannot be dependent on one's parents forever, and one has to be self-reliant mentally, of course, and self-reliant in a social sense as well, and one has to engage in some form of work, which is not limited to the narrow definition of working at a company. Furthermore, in the process of growing up, one begins to have all kinds of friend relationships. Of course, one may form a love relationship with someone that may even lead to marriage. If it does, one will start a marital relationship. And if one has children, a parent-child relationship will begin. Adler made three categories of the interpersonal relationships that arise out of these processes. He referred to them as tasks of work, tasks of friendship, and tasks of love, and altogether, life tasks.
Interesting. Supposed to be the sound of bubbles. Oh, I feel like bubbles are more like am I doing it right? Ah, my door is stuck. I feel like this is the bubble sound. It sounds like a fish a fish breathing underwater with bubbles. そうそうそう、まさにそれです、ポアグチャさん。魚の声真似。Are these tasks the obligations one has as a member of society? In other words, like labor and payment of taxes? No. Please think of this solely in terms of interpersonal relationships. That is, the distance and depth in one's interpersonal relationships. Adler sometimes used the expression 3 social tries to emphasize the point. The distance and depth in one's interpersonal relationships? The interpersonal relationships that a single individual has no choice but to confront when attempting to live as a social being. These are the life tasks. These are the life tasks. They are indeed tasks in the sense that one has no choice but to confront them. Would you be more specific? First, let's look at the tasks of work. Regardless of the kind of work, there is no work that can be completed all by oneself. For instance, I am usually here in my study writing manuscripts for a book. Writing is completely autonomous work that I cannot have someone else do for me. But there is the presence of the editor and many others whose assistance the work would not be realized from the people who handle the book design and printing to the distribution and bookstore staff. Work that can be completed without the cooperation of other people and its principle unfeasible. Broadly speaking, I suppose so. However, considered from the viewpoint of distance and depth, interpersonal relationships of work may be said to have the lowest hurdles. Interpersonal relationships of work have the easy to understand common objective of obtaining good results. So people can cooperate even if they don't always get along, and to some extent they have no choice but to cooperate. As long as a relationship is formed solely on the basis of work, it will go back to being a relationship with an outsider when working hours are over and or one changes jobs. Yes, so true. And the ones who get tripped up in the interpersonal relationships at this stage are the people referred to as neets. Oh my god, neat. Neat っていう単語出てきた。A young person not in education, employment or training, or shut-ins. Huh? Wait a minute. Are you saying that they don't try to work simply because they want to avoid the interpersonal relationships that are associated with work, not that they don't want to work or that they're refusing to do manual labor? Putting aside the question of whether or not they are conscious of it themselves, interpersonal relationships are at the core. For example, a man sends out resumes to find work and gets interviews, only to be rejected by one company after another. It hurts his pride. He starts to wonder what the purpose in working is if he has to go through such things. He makes a big mistake at work. The company's gonna lose a large sum of money because of him. Feeling utterly hopeless, as if he's plunged into darkness, he can't bear the thought of coming back to work the following day. None of these are capable of the work itself being disagreeable. What is disagreeable is being criticized or debunked by others through the work, getting labeled as having no ability or being incompetent or unsuited to the work, and hurting the dignity of one's irreplaceable self. In other words, everything is an interpersonal relationship issue. Oh my god, they are so right. Wait, that's so... 待って、めちゃくちゃ待って、やべ I hit my microphone. Oh my god. Sorry guys, was that loud? I hope that was okay. ちょっとマイクに当たっちゃいました。あ、I was trying to stretch. ストレッチ。 よいしょ。This part is so true. Interpersonal relationships really are at the core of everything. So if you make a mistake and you stuff up at work, it's not the fact that you made a mistake that makes it so embarrassing or makes you scared to go to work the next day. It's other things, like because of your mistake, the company's gonna lose money, or your coworkers are gonna judge you, right? It's actually your relationship with the company and your coworkers that are making this mistake that you made so devastating. It's not the idea of making a mistake itself, but your interpersonal relationship with other people and how your actions or a mistake that you made might change or affect those interpersonal relationships that makes it so scary to make mistakes. That makes so much sense. Everything is an interpersonal relationship issue. I wonder how they say it in Japanese. This book is originally in Japanese. Interpersonal relationship は日本語だとなんて言うのかな。人間関係かな。人間関係、多分。この本が主張してるのは、すべての不安とか問題とか全部人間関係に基づくみたいなことを主張してますね。おそらくそう。多分人間関係だと思う。I think interpersonal relationship was probably 人間関係 originally in the Japanese book, which directly translates to human relationships. 空気読みやりたいな。空気読み seems fun. I might play 空気読み someday. はいさ。はいや。よし。Okay. The next part of the book is red string and rigid chains. Let me see how much there is. Okay, we're getting close. I might as well just finish chapter 2. Yeah. I get a little bit sleepy in the middle of reading, but if I accidentally go just note that I'm falling asleep. Cause my own reading is kind of making myself sleepy. なんか読みながらちょっとはにゃー眠くなってるの。But yeah, you can tell from my model. This is the good thing about having a model. If you can see me go like you know that I'm like falling asleep. 頑張る。チャプター2が終わるまで頑張る。There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages left, which is not too bad. Okay. Are you guys still with me? Next part. Red string and rigid chains. Well, I'll save my objections for later. Next, what about the task of friendship? This is a friend relationship in a broader sense, away from work, as there is none of the compulsion of the workplace. It is a relationship that is difficult to initiate or deepen. You've got that right. If there's space, like one's school or workplace, one can still build a relationship, but then it will be a superficial relationship that is limited to that space. To even attempt to initiate a personal friend relationship, to find a friend in a place outside of the school or workplace will be extremely difficult. Do you have someone who you would call a close friend? I have a friend, but I'm not sure I'd call him a close friend. It used to be the same for me. When I was in high school, I did not even try to make friends. I spent my days studying Greek and German,
quietly absorbed in reading philosophy books. My mother was worried about me and went to consult my homeroom teacher. And my teacher told her, "There's no need to worry. He's a person who doesn't need friends." Those words were very encouraging to my mother and to me as well. Interesting.
Dun, dun, dun. Gonna stay here until you finish. Let's go. I hope it's been useful. Bye bye, Zeta. Thank you for joining us. Good luck with whatever you gotta do today. So guys, saying that you're someone who doesn't need friends isn't copium. It's not copium. You simply can be someone who just doesn't need friends, apparently. A person who doesn't need friends? So, in high school, you didn't have a single friend? No, I did have one friend. He said, "There's nothing really worth learning at a university." And in the end, he actually did not enter university. He went into seclusion up the mountains for several years, and these days I hear he's working in journalism in Southeast Asia. I haven't seen him in decades, but I have the feeling that if we got together again, we'd be able to hang out just as we did back then. A lot of people think that the more friends you have, the better, but I'm not so sure about that. There's no value at all in the number of friends or acquaintances that you have. And this is a subject that connects with the task of love. But what we should be thinking about is the distance and depth of the relationship. I completely agree with this. It's not about how many friends you have. It's about how deep your relationship is with the few friends that you do have. Will it be possible for me to make close friends? Of course it will. If you change, those around you will change too. They will have no choice but to change. Alderian psychology is a psychology for changing oneself, not a psychology for changing others. Instead of waiting for others to change or waiting for the situation to change, you take the step forward yourself. The fact is that you came like this to visit me in my room. And in you, I have found a young friend. Am I your friend? Yes, because you are. The dialogue going on here is not counseling, and we do not have a work relationship. To me, you are an irreplaceable friend. Don't you think so? I'm your irreplaceable friend? No, I won't think anything about that right now. Let's just keep going. What about the last one? The task of love. Think of it as divided into two stages. 1. What are known as love relationships, and 2. Relationships with family. In particular, parent-child relationships. We have discussed work and friendship, but of all the three tasks, most likely it is the task of love that is the most difficult. When a friend relationship has turned into love, speech and conduct that was permitted between friends may no longer be permitted the moment they become lovers. Specifically, that would mean not permitting socializing with friends of the opposite sex, and in some cases, just speaking on the telephone to someone of the opposite sex is enough to arouse jealousy. The distance is that close, and the relationship is that deep. Yes, I suppose it can't be helped. But Adler does not accept restricting one's partner. If the person seems happy, one can frankly celebrate that condition. That is love. Relationships in which people restrict each other eventually fall apart. That's the best relationship advice you'll hear all year, guys. Guys, Valentine's Day is close. 2 days. You hear that? You hear that? Relationships in which people restrict each other eventually fall apart. Okay, make sure
Make sure you don't get yourself into a restricting relationship. I love how this book is like a life lesson and like relationship advice all in one. Such a good book. Wait, that's an argument that can only lead to affirming wait, how do you say this word again? Infidelity? Infidelity. That's an argument that can only lead to affirming infidelity, because if one's partner were happily having an affair, you're saying that one should celebrate even that. No, I am not affirming someone having an affair. Think about it this way. The kind of relationship that feels somehow oppressive and strained when the two people are together cannot be called love, even if there is passion. When one can think, whenever I am with this person, I can behave very freely. One can really feel love. One can be in a calm and quiet natural state without having feelings of inferiority or being beset with the need to flaunt one's superiority. That is what real love is like. Restriction, on the other hand, is a manifestation of the mindset of attempting to control one's partner, and also an idea founded on a sense of distrust. Being in the same space with someone who distrusts you isn't a natural situation that one can put up with, is it? As Adler says, if two people want to live together on good terms, they must treat each other as equal personalities. This is so true. This is so true. You know, I was thinking about doing like a stream where I go through like some forums with people asking for relationship advice, and then I give my opinions, because I keep saying on stream that I'm really good at giving relationship advice, and I kind of want to showcase my skills. And I was thinking about how I would go about tackling some of the issues that I saw on like Reddit and like a Facebook page. Like a lot of them about cheating or feeling insecure in their relationships. And then I thought about this concept, and I realized that the reason why a lot of the times the reason why people cheat, on the surface, right? On the surface, it looks like they're trying to flaunt their superiority. But as we just learned from this book, the act of trying to flaunt your superiority actually comes from inferiority. So the reason why a lot of people fall into infidelity or cheating is because they feel insecure. They actually hate themselves and they feel like they're not good enough. And in order to protect themselves from that sense of insecurity, they seek out people other than their partner, because somewhere in their heart they're scared that they're not good enough for their current partner, that their partner is going to cheat on them, that their partner is going to leave them, and they feel a need to get almost like a backup option. They want something to fall back on, or they want an extra sense of validation because they're so insecure. They flaunt a sense of superiority because they're insecure. So in a really healthy, equal relationship where two people treat each other as equal personalities and are able to make each other feel free, like not restricting, both parties will not feel the need to seek validation from other sources because they already feel fulfilled and they feel secure in the relationship. So I think this makes a lot of sense. Hello, the relationship advisor. By the way, disclaimer, I don't have any qualifications. I just really like analyzing human emotions. I actually really like I really enjoy analyzing interpersonal relationships. I love this book. I'm buying the JP version of this book now on Kindle. It's too good. Let's go. It really is such a good book. I might check out the Japanese version as well after I finish reading the English version. I kind of want to see like how the wording is like in Japanese. It'll help me with learning kanji too. So この本ね、マジでおすすめです。
英語があまり得意ではない方は本当に嫌われる勇気日本語版ぜひチェックしてみてください。確か Amazon で電子版売ってるところ見た。Amazon で電子版買えるのでぜひチェックしてみてください。めちゃくちゃためになる本と思います。Alright、ちょっとお水飲みます。Amazon で1200円ぐらいだった。あ、割と安いですね。That's really affordable. You can get it on Amazon for 1,200 yen, which is like less than $10 USD. That's really cheap. I bought my book for $25 AUD. But I had a gift card, so I got a gift card from my auntie and uncle for Christmas, and I bought this book. My auntie subscribed to my YouTube channel. Auntie, are you watching me? She's probably asleep. She does a 9 to 5. She's definitely asleep, but hi auntie. I'm reading the book that I bought with the gift card you gave me. Okay. However, in love relationships and martial relationships, there is the option of separating. Wait, I just realized I've been reading it as martial when it's marital. Can I get a bonk? I'm gonna bonk myself. I was like, wait, martial doesn't sound right. And then I reread the word and it's M-A-R-I-T-A-L. It's marital, not martial. I'm so stupid. Why am I so stupid? バカだ。マリトルをマーシャルって呼んでた。It's marital relationships. I accidentally rearranged the I and the T and I read it as like Marshall. No, marital. However, in love relationships and marital relationships, there is the option of separating. So, even a husband and wife who have been together for many years can separate if continuing the relationship becomes distressful. In a parent-child relationship, however, in principle, this cannot be done. If romantic love is a relationship connected by red string, then the relationship between parents and children is bound in rigid chains, and a pair of small scissors is all you have. This is a difficulty of the parent-child relationship. So, what can be done? What I say at this stage is, you must not run away. No matter how distressful the relationship, you must not avoid or put off dealing with it. Even if in the end you're going to cut it with scissors, first you have to face it. The worst thing to do is to just stand still with the situation as it is. It is fundamentally impossible for a person to live life completely alone, and it is only in social context that a person becomes an individual. That is why, in Alderian psychology, self-reliance as an individual and cooperation with society are put forth as overarching objectives. Then, how can one achieve these objectives? On this point, Adler speaks of surmounting? Can someone Google what surmount means? S-U-R-M-O-U-N-T. Surmounting. It happens. Your brain can confuse similar looking words. Yeah. I accidentally mixed the T and the I and I read it as martial instead of marital. Even though I know the concept, the word marital relationship. Also, hello, Dragonfire. Hope you're enjoying your stay here. Surmount equals overcome. Oh, okay. Atlas speaks of overcoming the 3 tasks of work, friendship, and love. Oh, I see. Big, difficult word. Surmounting. I feel like I've learned so much reading this book. I've learned more reading this book than at my 3 years in university. The tasks of interpersonal relationships that a living person has no choice but to confront. The youth was still struggling to grasp their true meaning. The next part of this chapter, which I believe is the second last part? Yeah, second last part. Second last part of this chapter is called Don't Fall for the Life Lie. Interesting. Today is English class. We learned many new words. We even learned some German. Pog. なんか本を読むと新しい単語をたくさん覚えられますね。あ、待って、お腹が今お腹がグーってなりました。あれ Just as I said, I wasn't super hungry today. Man, it's okay. I have 2 more parts left. Alright, you guys still with me? Don't fall for the life lie. It's getting confusing again. You said that I see other people as enemies and can't think of them as comrades because I'm running away from my life tasks. What was that supposed to mean anyway? Suppose, for instance, that there's a certain Mr. A whom you don't like because he has some flaws and are hard to forgive. Oh wait, I forgot to change up my voice. 失礼いたしました。一応ね、若者の時は高めな声、哲学者の時はちょっと低めにしてるんだけど、たまに忘れちゃうんだよね。I forgot to switch my voice deeper for the philosopher. Suppose, for instance, that there is a certain Mr. A whom you don't like because he has some flaws that are hard to forgive. Haha. If you're looking for people I don't like, there's no shortage of candidates. Oh my god, he's just like me for real. But it isn't that you dislike Mr. A because you can't forgive his flaws. You had the goal of taking a dislike to Mr. A beforehand, and then started looking for the flaws to satisfy that goal. That's ridiculous. Why would I do that? So that you could avoid an interpersonal relationship with Mr. A. No way. That's completely out of the question. It's obvious that the order of things is backwards. He did something I didn't like. That's why, if he hadn't, I'd have no reason for taking a dislike to him. No, you are wrong. It's easy to see if you think back on the example of separating from a person whom one has been in a love relationship with. In relationships between lovers or married couples, there are times when, after a certain point, one becomes exasperated. For instance, there are times when, after a certain point, one becomes exasperated with everything one's partner says or does. For instance, she doesn't care for the way he eats. He's slovenly? Google sensei? Hey Alexia, what's slovenly? I assume it means like sloppy. It says she doesn't care for the way he eats. His slovenly appearance at home fills her with revulsion, and even his snoring sets her off. Even though, until a few months ago, none of it had ever bothered her before. Oh my god, that's like my mom with my dad. So even if Mr. A was perfect, he will not be like that sad.
let's see what the philosopher has to say. I think the point they're trying to make is a lot of the times we see one little thing that we don't really like about someone, and we immediately jump to the conclusion that that's all that they are, right? Like, even in a relationship where you've been together for a while and you know them really well, a small little thing they do that kind of ticks you off. For example, I guess being really loud when snoring. That kind of gives you a reason, an excuse to justify all of the other things that you might not like about them, like a sloppy appearance and stuff like that. It's like you nitpick on one thing and you try to use that one thing to justify not having a relationship with them anymore. And this doesn't have to be between lovers either. It can also be between like friends, I think. I know I'm a victim of this, ignoring all their good traits. Yeah. Like you're purposefully not trying to see the good parts about them because you want to avoid having an interpersonal relationship with them. It's like an avoidance strategy. You're trying to avoid building a relationship with someone by only focusing on what you don't like about them, because if you do that, then you can convince yourself, well, I don't like them, they're different to me, we'll never get along. And then you can avoid forming a relationship with them, whether that's romantic or not, right? I think that's what the philosopher is trying to say, but we'll see. The youth says, yes, that sounds familiar. The person feels this way because at some stage she had resolved to herself, I want to end this relationship. And she has been looking around for the material with which to end it. The other person hasn't changed at all. It is her own goal that has changed. Look, people are extremely selfish creatures who are capable of finding any number of flaws and shortcomings in others, whenever the mood strikes them. A man of perfect character could come along, and one would have no difficulty in digging up some reason to dislike him. That's exactly why the world can become a perilous place at any time, and it's always possible to see everyone as one's enemies. So, I am making up flaws in other people so that I can avoid my life tasks, and more, so I can avoid interpersonal relationships? And I am running away by thinking of other people as my enemies? That's right. Adler indicated the state of coming up with all manner of pretexts in order to avoid the life tasks, and called it the life lie. Okay. Yes, it's a severe term. One shifts one's responsibility for the situation one is currently in to someone else. One is running away from one's life tasks by saying that everything is the fault of other people, or the fault of one's environment. It's exactly the same as with the story I mentioned earlier about the female student with the fear of blushing. One lies to oneself, and one lies to the people around one, too. When you really think about it, it's a pretty severe term. But how can you conclude that I am lying? You don't know anything about what kind of people I have been around, or what kind of life I've led, do you? True, I don't know anything about your past. Not about your parents, your elder brother either. I only know one thing. What's that? The fact that you are the one who decided your lifestyle, and no one else. If your lifestyle were determined by other people or your environment, it would certainly be possible to shift responsibility. But we choose our lifestyles ourselves. It's clear where the responsibility lies. So, you're out to condemn me, but you're calling people liars and cowards and saying that everyone is my responsibility. You must not use the power of anger to look away. This is a very important point, and never discusses Adler never discusses the life tasks or life lies in terms of good and evil. It is not morals or good and evil that we should be discussing, but the issue of courage.
Courage? Again?
Yes. Even if you're avoiding your life tasks and clinging to your life lies, it isn't because you are steeped in evil. It is not an issue to be condemned from a moralistic standpoint. It is only an issue of courage.
Okay. It seems like everything in this book ties back to courage and kind of claims that every time you feel incompetent, or you feel like everything's worthless, or you feel like you can't do anything, you feel like you're putting yourself down, it all comes down to a lack of courage. A lack of courage to accept your shortcomings, and a lack of courage to, I guess, not care about what other people think. And a lack of courage to accept that you can't blame other people for your own problems. You can't just blame society, blame other people, blame my parents were mean to me when I grew up. That's why I have a twisted personality. Like, maybe to some extent that's true, but if you lived your whole life only blaming other people and your environment on the way you are, then you can never be better. So if you want to be better, you have to focus how you can change yourself. I think that's very interesting. Also, I really hope you guys cannot hear my stomach growling. Holy crap, my stomach growled like 5 times. すいません。ちょっとお腹がグーグーってなってます。3時間しか経ってないのに。
It's only been 3 hours.
I had a pretty big dinner. I ate a lot for dinner. Had a cup of coffee too.
I don't know why I'm already hungry.
Bread for Eru, thank you.
Extra ASMR. No, it's so embarrassing. The sound of a stomach growling isn't really pleasant to hear, so like I always get really nervous and embarrassed whenever my stomach starts growling,
especially in ASMR too, because it's so quiet. If it's like Genshin or something, it doesn't really matter because the sound of the game covers it up, but in ASMR it's like what the? In ASMR it's like oh no, it's so clear. Please microphone, don't pick it up, please. Every single time. Oh my god. Stop growling, stomach, please. Courage can defeat all problems. I think that's the book message. I think it kinda is, yeah. If you put it simply, this book is telling you that the root of all of your problems is the fact that you don't have courage. I hope it'll also touch on how you can gain courage, maybe in the later chapters, but I think so far what this book is trying to express is that all of our problems are rooted in having not enough courage. So, okay, next part is the last part of the second night. そろそろ最後になります。Let me drink some water. Thank you for the bread, Serena. I actually do have some bread. My mom went to see her friend today, and her friend baked some ham and cheese bread. I can go and toast some later. 後でパン食べよう。お腹すいた。Okay, so the last part of the second night is called From the Psychology of Possession to the Psychology of Practice. Interesting. So, in the end, what you're talking about is courage? That reminds me, last time you said that Alderian psychology is a psychology of courage. I will add to that by saying that Alderian psychology is not a psychology of possession, but a psychology of use. So, it's that statement.
I'm not what one is born with, but what use one makes of that equipment. That's right. Thank you for remembering it. Freudian etiology is a psychology of possession, and eventually arrives at determinism. Alderian psychology, on the other hand, is a psychology of use, and it is you who decides it.
Alderian psychology is a psychology of courage, and at the same time, it is a psychology of use.
We humans are not so fragile as to simply be at the mercy of etiological traumas. From the standpoint of teleology, we choose our lives and our lifestyles ourselves. We have the power to do that.
But honestly, I do not have the confidence to overcome my inferiority complex. And you might say that that's a life lie, but I probably won't ever be able to break free from the inferiority complex.
Why do you think so?
Maybe what you are saying is right. Actually, I'm sure it is. And courage is what I'm really lacking. I can accept the life lie as well. I'm scared of interacting with people. I don't want to get hurt in interpersonal relationships. And I want to put off my life tasks. That's why I have these excuses ready. Yes, it's exactly as you say. But isn't what you are talking about a kind of spiritualism? All you're really saying is, you've lost your courage. You've got to pluck up your courage. It's no different from the silly instructor who thinks he's giving you advice when he comes up and slaps you on the shoulder and says, cheer up, even though the reason I'm not doing well is because I just can't cheer up. That's a really good point.
So, what you're saying is, you would like me to suggest some specific steps?
Yes, please. I am still a human being. I am not a machine. I've been told that I'm all out of courage, but I can't just get a refill of courage as if I were refilling my tank with fuel.
Alright, but we've gone quite late again tonight, so let's continue this next time.
You aren't running away from it, right?
Of course not. Next time, we will probably discuss freedom.
Not courage?
Yes. It'll be a discussion of freedom, which is essential when talking about courage. Please give some thought to the matter of what freedom is.
What freedom is? Fine. I'm looking forward to next time. And that is the end of the second night. パチパチパチパチパチ。これで第2の夜の終わりです。なんかこの本すごく配信で読むのに向いてますね。This book is really suited actually for reading on stream because it's conveniently separated into 5 nights, and I'm doing like a late night reading kind of thing. Even the way the book wrapped itself up on the chapter kind of felt like I was ending the stream, like I'll see you next time. Like next time we'll be discussing freedom. It's so good. I'm really glad I picked up this book to read on stream. We're actually already halfway through the book. もう半分くらい読んでます。A little less than half, but let's go. Really good argument. That's like telling poor you lack money. Yeah, I think again, like the philosopher has had some really, really good points, especially in calling out our insecurities and why we feel certain ways about like a lot of how we internalize, I guess, a lot of our issues. And the only thing that's missing now is they're not telling us how we can get this courage that we need. So, Dennis-san, ありがとうございます. Thank you for the super chat. And thank you for listening again this time. I hope you can join us for the third night as well. I might do the third night next week or next week. I'll try to do it at least once every 2 weeks, so you guys don't forget about the content. I mean, it's pretty easy to join in, just jump in, even if you haven't listened to the previous chapters, but I think you get the best experience if you're here for all the chapters. I really like the second chapter. That was a really interesting chapter, yeah. Didn't sleep this stream but still had fun. I'm glad you had fun. I hope you enjoyed the content in this stream. I really like the content in chapter 2. It really hit home. The youth just becomes more and more relatable. I feel like in chapter 1, the youth just felt like a little, what do you call it? They just had a big attitude. And it was more so the philosopher trying to convince the youth to trust him first almost. And then by chapter 2, the youth kind of trusts the philosopher's opinions and is more open and willing to listen to what the philosopher has got to say. And we get a lot more specific examples as well that very much hit home. And it's very relatable. I'm super excited to read the third night, which is focused on freedom. I think Eren Yeager would very much enjoy. I think Eren Yeager will enjoy this third part. Freedom. Tatakae. Eren. When I saw the word freedom and I just immediately thought of Eren. I think Attack on Titan. There's a few Attack on Titan analysis videos that touch on Alderian psychology, I remember. This stream just keep me questioning my life even more. Fun stream though. Let's go. That's the whole point. You have two choices in these ASMR streams. You can either lie in bed and fall asleep and forget everything that I said, or you can pay attention to the content and then question your life with me. I love it. I love it. This is my kind of content. I love talking about life. I really like talking about life and thinking about deep topics and themes, like why we act the way we do, why we think the way we do, and how we can be a better version of ourselves. I really like thinking about these things, so this book is right up my alley. Freedom. I wonder what the other nights are about. I guess we can find out after the third night. What's the third night called? The third night is called Discard Other People's Tasks. Interesting. Deny the desire for recognition. Sometimes just reading the subtitles hits me. Like I don't even have to read the actual contents. Just seeing the subtitle makes me, oh wait, this better hit hard. This better hit hard. Like, admitting fault is not defeat. And like, nobody cares about your appearance. You're the only one worrying about your appearance. Like, all of these are things that I feel like my mom says to me when I'm like feeling really down. A lot of the times I'm feeling really down and I'm talking to a friend or like my mom about it, and then these are the type of things they'll say back to me, like, Elu, you're just worrying too much. People don't care as much about your appearance as you think they do, right? And also like, you really need to stop desiring recognition from other people. You need to be able to validate yourself. Learn to self-validate. These are the kind of things that people will say to you when you're having like a bad mental health day. This book, self-help book. Sasuga self-help book. It's a good read on a bad mental health day. It calls you out on your negative thoughts, and hopefully in chapter 3 will also give us some ideas on how to overcome that. and get the courage that you need to be disliked. Recommend question since anime no one seemed interested, but you like to talk about life, you watch it. Oh, I do like watching stuff that explore life, but then most anime explore life, so they just explore life in very different ways. Okay, I should go. My stomach. Wait, guys, can you hear my stomach growling? Oh my god, my stomach growling is so bad today. It's actually likeえ? 私そんなにお腹空いてたんだ. I didn't know I was this hungry. This is the worst my stomach has growled during a stream. Could you guys hear it? I hope it wasn't very audible. Oh god. Okay. I figured this out last year. People don't really care about your appearance. Their mind is occupied with their own lives. Right? That's very true. Sometimes when you put yourselves in other people's shoes, you can finally realize, wait, I don't care so much about how other people look. I'm pretty occupied on myself. So why would other people care about me? It's actually really easy to internalize it once you put yourself in other people's position. ちょっと聞こえました。恥ずかしい。ごめんなさい。恥ずかしいな。お腹がグーグーなってる音聞かれるのはすごく恥ずかしい。It's so embarrassing for people to hear my stomach go goo. It's like especially loud today too. I think the last ASMR stream my stomach went goo as well, but it wasn't too loud and I was like talking over it with the BGM and everything as well, so it wasn't very audible. But this time, low-key, probably a few times. I think it's probably gonna be in the VOD. Oh well, I'm sorry. I can't control my stomach. Okay. じゃあ今日はここまでにするかな。For everyone who sticks around. おまごめもろ。あれ Why am I stuck? Vtube Studio? I'm back. Okay. Okay, everyone who sticked around today and find the contents really interesting, I hope you'll be able to join me for the third night as well. Yeah, I'm having a lot of fun reading this book. I think it's very eye-opening. また第3の夜の時も遊びに来てね、みんな。I'll see you guys on Valentine's Day for another hand cam stream. If you guys enjoyed my last mashed potato hand cam stream, I'll be doing another one on the 14th. I'll probably be doing it at my usual streaming time on the 14th. So yeah, I'll be decorating some chocolates. Thank you for joining me. I hope you all sleep well after this stream. If you're gonna take a nap or go to bed after this, I'm gonna go grab some food and go to sleep as well. Yes, I will be doing a Valentine's Day chocolate decorating handcam stream. I hope to see you guys there. Okay, じゃあ、あつえる。またねー。バイバイ。おやすみなさい。いい夢を。